Yes.
In case anyone is confused, he means E3.
Yeah, E3. I just wanted to say it like word for word because I thought it sounded cooler. So yeah, no, this year's event is going to be entirely virtual. And each company is going to be doing their own thing. Nintendo's no stranger to that.
Right.
So yeah, we're going to talk about what we hope to see at this year's E3, what we think is going to get announced, and kind of go off from there. This is actually going to be a split podcast where half of it is us predicting E3 and the other half is actually us showing our 3x3s for our taste in video games, as it stands for each of us, like what our defining tastes in video games are. And we'll put our 3x3s up on screen and just kind of talk about them. So that'll be like a fun like second half of the podcast. The first half will be E3 focused though. First, I just want to get some plugs out of the way. First of all, thank you very much for tuning into our podcast today. We really appreciate it. Please check out some of our other content if you haven't already. There will be links in the description below. For all things anime, video games, and comic books, please follow us on Twitter at advent_7. Visit our website, advent7.com, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. With that out of the way, on to the podcast. Boys, who wants to go first with their hopes for this year? Like, who has a good idea of what they think might actually get announced?
Man, that is always a gamble on what I actually think is going to happen. I mean, the first thing that I'm thinking that I want to see is that since Nintendo actually is going to be doing something, Smash has got to announce somebody. Like, at least one character. And I think in an earlier podcast, I had mentioned that my prediction for Smash, and I still think this should happen, is Miriam from Bloodstained Ritual of the Night will be a character.
I mean, with the end of Castlevania on Netflix, there's at least more buzz for Castlevania searching, so maybe.
Well, they announced that a sequel's coming out for Bloodstained as well, but that's way early in development, so I don't think they're going to say anything about that. Okay, Kevin has officially mentioned Half-Life 3. That's a lie. We're only going to get Half-Life 4. I am sorry, Half-Life 3 was canceled. We just had to move forward.
They told the line with Half-Life 2.5, so I guess, yeah.
Yes.
I thought Half-Life 3 was Half-Life Alyx. Or
that was like a spin-off of the Half-Life series. Like, Alex is like the VR like Half-Life game, but it's not technically a direct sequel from my understanding.
Yeah, so they can get away with Half-Life 3.
Yeah, that's all you can get.
It took the advent. It took the advent of VR for Valve to actually give us anything.
I mean, the creators for Left 4 Dead had to literally leave Valve, go to a different studio, make their own studio, and make another game.
It's insanity.
To give us Left 4 Dead 3 and or Back 4 Blood.
It's strange. Why does Valve not want to make money? Why do they not want to make money?
No, they want to make money, but they rather not continue any series. They rather make different stuff for weird things.
I guess that's fair.
Like, who wants sequels? Everybody only wants original content.
God, don't talk to me about original content versus sequels.
Gabe, if you're listening to your podcast, please, Gabe.
Gabe, just give it to us.
Yeah, we'll take it.
I personally, every year for E3, I always hold out for a new F-Zero game from Nintendo.
Okay.
Every year. And I'm only setting myself up for disappointment because Nintendo's never going to do it. It's been, 17 years, maybe 18 years since we had an F-Zero game come out in America.
At this point, you're literally just torturing yourself, man. The thing is dead until it's not.
It is dead because we have Mario Kart.
Listen, in Nintendo Land, where all of the games were named after, the games that the characters came from and stuff, the F-Zero game wasn't called F-Zero. It was called Captain Falcon's Race or whatever. Like, it's dead, man.
Oh, I can't believe it. God, it's called Captain Falcon's like race challenge or whatever in Nintendo Land. It's ridiculous. They didn't even make Captain Falcon a playable character in Mario Kart 9 or 8, but you have Big Blue and Mute City in there.
At least we got those nods.
Yeah,
Play
Like, we
that
got
and just
we got those
pretend.
nods. We got his cart. So it's just yeah.
I heard someone say that like some Nintendo execs said that they didn't want to do a new F-Zero until they had like a gimmick for it, but you don't need a gimmick for it. Listen,
What?
Why? Yeah,
Absolutely
GX is just X with more stuff, with different stuff. And heck, we still don't have a way to access AX tracks at home. They could just like do a re-release and add those at least. Give me something. Come on, you already made those.
Yeah. It's not even about something new anymore. We just want the opportunity to play the game. You know?
Right.
Like it's not on any of the. It wasn't on the NES or the SNES either, I guess. So
The first F-Zero was SNES.
Yeah.
I was
So
about
there's
to
a
say,
chance-
yeah.
I'm pretty sure
there's
it's on
a
the Virtual
chance-
Console.
Is it? No.
It's
so.
it's on the
Yes.
Virtual Console. I mean, that's
Yeah.
good. I recently got my Nintendo SNES Switch Online wireless controller in the mail, and it makes playing F-Zero much more authentic. But it doesn't replace my desire to just have a new game in
I
general.
just want new F-Zero experiences, man. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite racers of all time. GX is incredible.
Yeah, GX is a
Yeah.
great time, and AX, dude, like the, I mean, if anyone listening to this has ever sat in an AX machine, it's like stepping into a spaceship.
I'm so sad. There used to be one in KC at the Worlds of Fun, but I don't think it's there anymore.
Ugh, that's sad.
F in the chat.
Yeah, but what were you trying to say, Trey?
I have no input on the F-Zero concept, but I was gonna point out that IGN put out like they put out like 2 mini lists from one for Nintendo and one for Xbox about what you got. It's like, hey audience, what do you think is going to be announced at E3? And their list for Nintendo says Breath of the Wild sequel, which they teased it last year or 2 years ago. Man, it's been 2 years since they announced Breath of the Wild sequel.
That's
Or was
crazy.
it
It doesn't-
Was it last year during one
They
of
didn't
those?
have E3. They didn't have E3 last year.
Yeah,
Did
they
they
have
have a
E3. Yeah, I think they had a direct though, but I don't think it was 2 years ago. I think it was about a year ago.
Okay.
During the
so
summer, where like they were releasing news for everything.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, you might be right. It would have been last year. But yeah, they got the Breath of the Wild sequel. They got, so we're possibly, in my opinion, it's like none of my franchises are currently dead.
Trey was right. It was announced at E3 2019.
Wow.
Yeah, that's insanity. It's been 2 years.
Nintendo has so much waiting in the chamber that we just haven't heard anything about, or that we've all been waiting for so long. They've got Breath of the Wild 2. They've got Bayonetta 3. It's been like 3 years since any news at all.
Yeah, that's what
Metroid
on
Prime
this list.
4, which they like restarted
Prime.
development on, of course.
Also on the
Shin Megami Tensei 5 still doesn't have a release date, to my knowledge. It's
Are
wild.
you kidding me? They haven't announced one
That
for
was announced
Tensei
before
5.
the Switch came out.
No way.
Before
no
the
way.
Switch came out.
Yeah, it was. It was.
I'm googling this release date for.
Google it.
It says 2021. It says that's all it says. That's like not giving a release date at all. that's like saying, oh yeah, it's on its way. We swear.
I mean, that's what they did with Metroid Prime
Yeah,
4.
the release
so I
date
guess,
is out to lunch.
Yeah, so we're due. Release date is out to lunch. Check back later. The only thing I know we're definitely, well, it's no guarantee, but we're most likely going to get either a new trailer or some updates on both Pokemon Legends Arceus and the Pokemon Sinnoh remakes.
Gosh, I'm
Brilliant
so
Diamond and
excited.
Shining
That's
Pearl.
primarily what we get if that's like the big announcement. They have so many bombs to drop, and they didn't, we didn't have a big event last year, so I'm just waiting. Come on, hit me with those bombs.
Right.
And the other big thing I remember with Pokemon was that when they had the whole show for them, they're like, okay, we have all of these ones, and here's this interesting game you might be interested in. It's called New Pokemon Snap. And everyone just lost their freaking minds because they were supposed to. And it's like, and we got an even bigger announcement. I'm like, oh man, what is it? It's like Pokemon MOBA.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's like, oh, wonderful.
I hated that shit.
we
I think you
always
got your
wanted.
pages turned around because Pokemon Snap should have been at the end.
I remember that announcement.
Everyone
I don't
lost
know
their minds when that was announced, and for good reason.
Don't the kids all like MOBA? Did the kids like MOBA these days, or is it just that League of Legends is free and plays on a toaster?
Yeah.
I mean, you can go the Diablo 4 route and go, hey, it's on your phone. You have a phone, right? That famous, famous outburst.
Yeah, that horrifying thing. Yeah, don't ever like try to like berate your audience. It's like, why are you booing me? You have phones.
Oh my goodness, that was a mess.
Parentheses, peasants.
But this list that IGN released, it's got Breath of the Wild, the 2 Pokemon games. They got Mario Golf Super Rush because they announced that earlier this year.
God,
so why are they getting
another Mario spin-off? Please.
Yeah, they announced.
That's where they make all their money from.
Earlier this year, in like their first direct.
Just port Star Fox Zero to the Switch, please, for the love of God. Like, just give us something Star Fox related. I don't care if it sucks. I don't care if Star Fox Zero was built for the Wii U. I know it was. I just want some type of Star Fox.
I tried to love that game.
Oh God! What did they do to make Platinum? What did they do to make Platinum put out such a bad game? Because Platinum only puts out decent
design. They just did like coding help and stuff. That was all Nintendo in-house.
Really?
But they slapped Platinum's name all over it, though.
It's Platinum's fault.
I blame Miyamoto.
Listen, if the game is buggy, you can blame Platinum, but that wasn't the problems that game had. The game was working as intended, unfortunately.
It was from a design standpoint.
Yeah, it's not the fact that the triangles weren't perfect. It's the fact that they were made out of melted cheese.
Listen,
delicious cheese.
I like motion.
It was moldy cheese that was left out in the sun.
I don't know.
I like motion controls. I like them pretty much most of the time when they've shown up. But Star Fox Zero was just not well implemented. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it really was not. We'll see. What else? Like what else are we thinking might get like announced this year? Like, let's talk about Microsoft for a second. I know that most of us are more Nintendo inclined, but like,
Microsoft and Bethesda and their love childs. I'm seeing a few things. There's telling us what happened to Halo Infinite.
Yeah, let's see where that goes. I've loved Halo for the longest time, and I will buy Infinite no matter what. But we gotta know what's actually going on with that game.
It's kind of weird for me because, like, for Halo, the last good Halo game, in my opinion, was Reach.
Well, that's because of Bungie. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it's like, okay, let's go to Halo 4, and then I watch the storyline, and I'm like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
The story leaves a lot to be desired after 4.
I feel bad because
becomes crazy.
It's like, okay, we got this big alien, time to fight on the bridge. Let's go. Why did we just kick him off? Okay, we're gonna go jump off the. No, we're just leaving. What? We're just leaving the biggest boss in behind? This is like having Final Fantasy VII, but you go up to Sephiroth, slap him once in a cutscene and leave, and you never see him again.
That's what the movie's for.
Oh.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get more details about Infinite. I don't know, like, what would you guys want to see from Microsoft, if anything?
New Mech Warrior.
Okay,
on PC, but I have to play with a flight stick.
This is going to sound really ignorant, but what is Mech Warrior? I haven't heard of this, and Kevin mentioned it in the chat.
Mech Warrior is a long-running series where you pilot like these big, slow, stompy mechs. I used to play it. I used to play Mech Warrior 4 back in the day when that was new. That was like the first game I ever played online. And it had really complicated controls. You could play it relatively simply, but you also could play it where you were using like every button on your keyboard. Yeah. There was an arcade version too where you like you got into a cockpit and the door slid shut and you had like all sorts of pedals and stuff. It was awesome.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, this sounds pretty involved.
Yeah, these are not the elegant, beautiful mechs of what we have now. These are clunky, like nuclear-powered kind of mech.
Oh, Jaegers from Pacific Rim. Then, yeah, okay.
Yes, Jaegers. Okay. Let's go. Okay. We get Jaegers. So a few other games that IGN mentioned were Starfield, Perfect Dark, Fable.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Perfect Dark.
People lost their mind when the Fable was announced for Xbox One before it came out, and it still haven't said anything about it.
Okay. I actually have an idea about one of the things for Xbox that we haven't mentioned yet. I'm pretty sure that they will make Skyrim for the Windows Phone because fuck it, we need to put it on every device possible.
Need a port for it, literally for everything. Why not?
Isn't there a
fucking free space at this point for E3?
Isn't there a mobile Dark Souls game?
Really?
Not that I've heard of.
It's either Dark Souls or Skyrim, but it's one where it's a mobile tap game where you basically have a sword in one hand and either your shield or magic in the other hand, and you just kind of go step by step and deal with enemies. I've seen people.
I think you're right. I saw that trailer too. It was.
Okay.
I didn't see that one. I don't know if it has one.
I can't remember which game it was.
I googled it here, and it says like the game will be available for iOS and Android. Although the Android version is apparently experiencing development problems, so it's still a work in progress. According to this article from thegamer.com, the game will be only available for $6.99 and is available for pre-order on the Apple App Store. So, which blows my mind that they could fit such a massive game into a phone app. I feel like they're definitely making sacrifices.
I don't know, like Genshin Impact exists, so it's hard for me to say.
Does exist. It's like
that's true,
but that's a Chinese game. They work harder over there.
Okay,
fair enough. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know. Like, it's not that I have anything against Microsoft, but they never really announce anything that really sweeps me off my feet. My most anticipated announcements tend to come from Nintendo or Square Enix. That's just kind of like where my my disposition as a gamer like goes to. So I'm actually really hoping that we'll hear more from Square Enix about Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, probably.
We'll definitely hear more about that.
I am so excited for that.
The trailer that they showed off when they first announced it was gorgeous. I've rewatched it several times. I'm looking forward to getting away from the edgy Japanese aesthetic that the past couple console games have kind of, lended themselves to, because 16 looks like it's going for more of a medieval European style.
I mean, you'll still get Basojo in your Final Fantasy either way.
Oh yeah, it's like can't get away from that. It's like totally Japanese is just part of it. But it's interesting how in the trailer they hint at a plot relating to the crystals, and like the narrator who's speaking says like the crystals have like decided our fate for long enough. And so I know a little bit about the crystals and how they relate to all of the Final Fantasy games as like a greater subplot. So I'm interested to see what they intend to do there. If there's like going to be callbacks to previous games or like what have you.
Calling it now. One of them is named Sid.
Oh, duh. That's just an Final Fantasy game.
I'm more excited for this than I have been for a Final Fantasy, like an actual proper Final Fantasy game in some time, like probably more than a decade. It really clicks with me in a way that I think the 13 series and 15 really didn't. Like 14 is cool, but it's an offshoot, right?
Yeah, 14
so I'm really excited for this.
15 definitely looks really good. I have not played it, but the way that I've seen it is that it's Bro Trip Simulator 3000.
Oh, absolutely.
Andrew finished that game.
I dumped 120 hours into Final Fantasy 15, and I loathe that game.
Wow.
I really wish I didn't spend all that time, but
Andrew, that's not a tweet. You need to make that, because that was beautiful.
I really wanted to like that game. I tried so hard to like 15, and I put in a genuine effort to enjoy that game. And the second that Nier Automata came out right after I finished my run of 15, I remember saying to my roommate in college, "Wow, I forgot what a good RPG was actually like."
Yeah, no kidding.
It was insanely refreshing to play like a decent game. So
you take that back. Nier Automata isn't just decent.
It's amazing for sure.
Fair.
Okay, there we go.
I mean, speaking of Nier Automata, maybe we'll find out more about that mobile app game, Reincarnation. Because that came out in Japan already, but we haven't seen a Western release yet.
I'm pre-registered on that and whatnot, and so
sweet.
hopefully here soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
They just
So speaking of mobile apps, Kingdom Hearts' mobile app, Union Cross, just had its official ending come out.
Thank God.
So there's possibly more Kingdom Hearts in the future.
Oh man, I heavily doubt that. Nomura's so busy with The World Ends With You that, like,
But that's almost done.
That man has proven that he can't handle development on more than one game at a time. That's why 15 took 10 years to make, and Kingdom Hearts 3 took 13 years to make.
Yeah, but he already laid the groundwork for his next game, and it doesn't have to exactly be Kingdom Hearts, but it's going to be Kingdom Hearts related, because he already set it up in his post game, in that DLC he dropped.
Oh no! No! I haven't gotten there yet.
I know you haven't. Just finish Pirates World already, Andrew.
Fine, I will. What can I say? Pirates of the Caribbean World in Kingdom Hearts 3 is freaking gorgeous. Like, that is like, they imported Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag into Kingdom Hearts 3 and then gave it a very realistic Pirates of the Caribbean video game graphics texture overlay, and it's a shit ton of fun. So,
I just had the vision of playing Assassin's Creed 4 and then getting into a ship battle, and then over the horizon you see the gummy ship, and they're just like, fuck.
Here we go again.
Oh, one of the fucking sea shanties is music from Kingdom Hearts. Would be great.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
Oh my god, yes.
I guess
You're just riding.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you're just riding around in the Caribbean, and you just start playing Kingdom Heart music. Oh, it's so good.
Yes. Great sea shanty, simple and clean.
Yes.
Jesus. I'm sure somebody out there's already made one.
I would pay money if someone actually made a good sea shanty that uses all of the lyrics of Simple and Clean.
Hear that, listeners? It's your time to shine. Give us
it's your time to shine.
Simple and Clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight.
No, stop! I don't
where's
enjoy
my wallet?
I don't want the sea shanty.
But so I remember back when they were first announcing the PS5, they brought up the concept of a Hogwarts game. So I have no idea what's happened with that, especially after all of J.K. Rowling being J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, we're just gonna pretend that she doesn't exist anymore.
It's fine, but it's better we don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot that they announced that big new Hogwarts game. Was it at the Game Awards last year that they announced it?
It was just with the PS. It was one of the PlayStation State of Play that they were talking about all their new games.
Was it the State of Play where they showed off the PS5?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That was when did that State of Play come out? Was that like November last year?
No, that was way before. That was like start of last year. I want to say maybe it was April. It might have been April that came out.
Okay, man, time really flies.
I'm kidding.
So, since we were talking about Kingdom Hearts 3, that led my brain to think about Super Smash Brothers. And
sure.
We're not getting Sora.
And we're not getting Sora. We're not.
We're getting good.
I hate to tell everybody listening to this, it's not happening. So don't be like me where you set yourself up for disappointment every single time you watch another Nintendo Direct.
It's going to be Dante, though.
I mean, why not? Like, it should have been Dante. Like, as Mighty Keith once said.
So happy.
As Mighty Keith once said, we could have had Dante. Instead, they gave us Steve.
I do remember the memes
but you
about
love
that,
Steve
where it's
so much, though.
Where it's Dante in the Minecraft world, and he just goes, "What the hell is this?"
Yep, yeah, I've seen that meme. It's wonderful. There's a whole podcast episode we did. Our very first official Advent 7 podcast we did was centered around how much I hated the fact that Minecraft Steve was being added to Smash Ultimate. And lo and behold, listeners, Steve is now like my second most played character in that game.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I play as Steve like 90% of the time now. Only because
It's unbearable.
I'm not playing seriously. I'm just playing to like, mess around and have a good time. I'm not trying to play for like wins. That is until I get 4th place as Steve like 10 matches in a row, and then I'll bust out the Samus for some revenge. And then go back and then I go back to Minecart afterwards. But I wanted to ask you guys honestly, because I mean, this subject has to come up in this podcast. Sure. Who do you guys think will be the next revealed character for Smash? Because it will happen at E3.
Who does Nintendo have close ties to and would be like a corporate pick that would like push something? It's gonna be something like that.
It's gotta be something like that because Nintendo's
corporate not gonna be a fan favorite.
Yeah. The corporate are the people that are actually picking the characters. It's not soccer.
I know. I still want it to be Miriam from Bloodstained, though. I really, really do.
It's not bad.
I would not be shocked to see Master Chief. I think that's maybe not the like most solid bet, but I know that like it had been kicked about even with Microsoft people, and having your character in Smash Brothers is a big advertisement. So
yeah,
it is.
But that would imply that they're making Halo Infinite.
Really? And, I mean, they can't let people know that like they're still working on it.
Oh no!
They have to make.
No.
Like they're still in like a hiatus. They gotta make us believe that they need more time.
I could see a girl from Horizon also possibly.
Oh yeah.
They partnered with Sony to get like the lead from Zero Dawn Horizon in there. That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be a pretty.
Get a bow character.
Yeah, we don't have one outside of Link. So
Pit and Dark Pit.
And Dark Pit,
yeah.
Yeah, I guess I forgot about them.
It's not going to be Waluigi. There's no chance.
No.
It's not.
I don't know. I was thinking of another fighting game would probably be another person to bring in too, because I know they brought in Terry from.
Oh yes.
From this game, so I could see Hachi or
Tekken.
Jin.
Yeah, Tekken would probably be.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm saying I still want my Mortal Kombat, and I'm saying
finish him. Finish him! Yeah, give me Sub-Zero.
Character can slide into like the Smash.
Oh my god! And all of the different skins are just all of the same, like ninja. So it's like Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Smoke,
and they won't do fatalities. So there's just no chance.
Well, that's why we got to get the one with the least deadly looking attacks. So we get the ice guy.
I mean, they did play him. Yeah.
Okay, but at the same time, that's like going to the bar saying, hey, listen, I'm not allowed to drink. What's your drink with the least amount of alcohol but still has alcohol?
I mean, they did do that. They did Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. And that spawned Injustice. So I guess it kind of like worked out for them. But no one, like you couldn't see like Superman like punch his fist through a person. It was a no-go.
Yeah.
I know it will probably be Tekken, but if they do get a Namco rep, I want it to be Nightmare from Soul Calibur instead.
Oh,
yes. That was my other pick. Yeah, that was my other pick from Soul Calibur.
My big hot take here is that Tekken is visually boring. So give me the Dark Knight with the big eyeball sword instead.
Okay.
I want Kuma. Yeah. I want Kuma.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, I would be okay with Kuma. Kuma would be interesting.
I'm pretty sure that if we got a Namco crossover character again, just to be extra confusing, it's gonna be Yoshimitsu.
That'd be great. Actually, no,
sure,
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
He's an iconic, interesting character. His B is really obvious. It's Dragonfly, and he represents both Tekken and Soul Calibur. That's the pick. That's actually big brain.
Just because that way it's like, do you have to have him do a kill move? No. He can just like put it right by its side rather than actually stab himself through the gut.
You could have a suicide. You could have a suicide move where you, like, if it hits you, it kills you first, but then afterwards he goes flying.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'd be down for that. Now, I think that, like, Soul Calibur, that is kind of a world of fighting games that Smash has not touched upon yet. So, I would think it'd be really
Yes.
cool for a representative from Soul Calibur to be in it, whether
Cool.
it's Nightmare or Cassandra, or I mean, heck, even what was that guy's name, Valdo?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't care, man. I just want-
Good girl, boys.
User though, I would like someone to bring in someone who uses like nunchucks. That'd be fun, but
Maxi, use nunchucks.
I mean, if
Maxie
they,
absolutely does.
Long.
I mean, I could just see the comments on it. Oh boy, another sword, anime sword boy, oh girl.
yeah. My money's still a Pokemon rep at some point, but I don't know. I still feel confident that's going to happen, but I don't know.
I mean, I think it would be a wasted opportunity if it was an IP that we already have.
At this point, it doesn't matter.
I mean,
Because we're going to announce the Fighter Pass 3.
no, they are not.
No.
They are not.
So-
I'm going to dash those hopes right now. They are
Yeah.
not.
So on that, we can all agree that the second to last character is up for debate. That's true. The last character is definitely going to be Waluigi. He's going to end on his magnum opus right there.
No chance.
It is
I'm
time to
not
end
agreeing
this
to this.
podcast now that you've said this.
It's time to stop.
Yes.
I saw somebody on Twitter the other day say, look, I am a massive Waluigi proponent fan, and I want Waluigi in the game. But think about how volatile the internet will become if it happens. 50% will react in the most positive way possible, and 50% will react in the most negative way possible to Waluigi being smashed.
Be real.
I'm pretty
That's what
sure.
the internet. That's what the internet does after every single Nintendo Direct, regardless of what it is.
That's true, but I think this might be the final. If it's the last character, like, people will burn buildings.
Man.
They will burn down buildings.
Glass will be broken.
I want to believe that's wrong, but after the Honkai Impact thing, where the dude went after the company with a knife because they put his waifu in a bunny outfit, like, people on the edge right now, man.
Yeah,
People on the edge.
I mean, you really have to toe the line with that stuff because Kyoto Annie burned down as well. So I was like,
Oh God.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yep.
so yeah, that's kind of a thing.
Inside for a year, they've just completely lost all kinds of perspective.
So yeah, this would be the worst possible thing. But let me think. What was I gonna say? I lost it.
Well, I
But
think
if we
that
would've-
I would be ecstatic if they added 2B as a playable character.
Totally.
I'd lose it.
Very possible.
Yeah.
I would see that being possible because she's been in all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was
she's
even
already in Soul Calibur.
Yeah, she's a guest
in
fighter in
Soul
Soul Calibur. I think that she has a lot of really cool moves and weapons that could be implemented in the game, and she's also like one of the top most requested characters for Smash in all regions. So
Yeah, you know they can listen to those.
I mean, yeah, like those are like fan made polls, but still, like, it's a pretty safe bet that like generally people would be happy about that.
Right.
I would love to see her in the game. Do I think it's gonna happen? No. The character I think has the most likely chance of being a Smash right now is Crash Bandicoot.
Okay.
That seems possible.
He has games already on Switch. The 4th game came out fairly recently. It'd be a good advertisement, like we said, that Smash is a giant advertisement. And Crash has a lot of unique moves and would fit in with the aesthetic of Smash.
That's why they're gonna go with Ratchet and Clank instead.
And you know what?
Okay.
That's fine. That's fine with me too, actually. I don't mind that. I prefer Crash, but Ratchet and Clank's cool. I would not dock that. I think that Smash just... I wish that Smash would add a hype character that we all asked for, but as Ed established at the beginning of this conversation, it's really up to the corporate for Nintendo what they want to do. So,
Totally.
So, if they feel like Ratchet and Clank just ain't that popular, they're not going to put it in. For a while,
Well, the important thing to
sorry, go ahead.
sorry. I was just going to say that the important thing to remember is that it also cuts both ways. Is that they also have to be hyped for it to be in Smash, and if the other company is like, no, then they can't do anything.
Right, exactly.
Really beneficial for your IP to be in Smash, though. Like, that translates to sales. Just
Right.
compare Xenoblade Chronicles on launch to
Holy cow.
Xenoblade Chronicles, like the remaster editions and the hype that was there for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Smash immortalized Xenoblade Chronicles in our memories now. Like, it is a front and center IP for Nintendo.
As someone who got it like on launch year, like
yeah, I found out about Xenoblade Chronicles because of you, Ed.
So, what do you guys think about them possibly and what do you think of Square Enix possibly announcing a new Fire Emblem game? Any thoughts on the possibility?
Nintendo.
Well, Nintendo, I guess. Yeah, never mind. I thought Square Enix did work on that.
No, that is strictly a Nintendo property. It's weird, and I'll get into this later because spoiler, there's a Fire Emblem game on my 3x3. But by the time I got to Fates, it was just feeling like they split the game up so much that my options were just like, I don't know what to do with this, and I don't know if I really want to play this or not. And then I wanted to play Three Houses, and then I didn't want to play Three Houses because I had other things to do. And then they split it up even further into 3 different games because there were 3 different endings, and I'm like, I just don't got time for this.
Three Houses was really popular, so I do think that we don't have to worry about seeing another Fire Emblem. But I think it's probably too soon right now because I feel like the Three Houses hype wave is just ending. So I figure they'll probably give it a little space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit of time, and Three Houses is still selling. So, I don't know. I guess it's so easy to talk about Nintendo and like what we expect from them because they have a lot of really recognizable IPs, and Nintendo is just hard to predict at the same time. So it's fun and grueling at the same time to try and guess what they're gonna do.
Oh, absolutely. Sega has a show coming up here at E3, and I am absolutely strapped in, completely prepared for incredible disappointment.
Yes,
I love Sega. They have so many IPs that I adore, but they do nothing with them.
Yeah.
I think that hopefully we would see more information about that very vague new Sonic game that they announced at the tail end of that Sonic 30th anniversary live stream, which was incredibly disappointing.
See some kind of Persona property since they own Atlas now.
Oh, they do?
And,
okay.
Yeah, they'll probably talk about the Streets of Rage 4 DLC briefly, and probably something Yakuza. I don't know what, something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Didn't they tell us about, or was that PlayStation? That was PlayStation who told us about some street brawling game where it's like I think it was a roguelike where you constantly would die, but you would keep learning skills as you kept going through or something like that. I can't. Yeah, but it was I can't remember what game it was. I can't remember if that was PlayStation or Nintendo because these are my 2 companies, PlayStation, Nintendo. I don't care about Microsoft. Send your hate mail at PO Box 185.
Got it.
No, I didn't hear anything about a Sony brawler coming out. Maybe it was Nintendo. Let's see. Well, okay. I guess since we kind of talked about what we expect to come out, if you guys could ask for a game you wanted to be announced at E3, if you could pick one game that you would just die to have brought back to life or receive a sequel, what would it be?
Oh, I got one.
Okay.
So Ken Levine developed BioShock, the first one and the third one, Infinite.
Okay.
He supposedly broke off from 2K and made his own gaming studio.
Oh, cool.
They're in later stages of production in that game. I want to see that game.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that he was working on something.
Yeah, but no one has any idea what it is. All he's been telling people, it's being worked on. Just wait.
Okay.
I just remembered something.
Sounds cryptic. What's that?
I kind of want to. I hope they announce or at least give us some more information about the Demon Slayer game coming out eventually, and specifically the English release, possibly at least a dub or at least saying that it's going to be localized. because it's basically going to be Naruto Storm 5, but with Demon Slayer characters, and the graphics look sick already. They just look fantastic.
Okay.
Right now they're just announcing characters in it, so I guess.
Yeah.
You had me at Naruto Storm 5. God, I love the Storm games. Okay, I'm down. Yes, they should talk about that.
I sincerely hope Ubisoft is listening to the podcast since we're such big players here.
Really?
Oh, such big players.
And every year I watch your presentation for one reason and one reason only. And it's not to see what celebrity you pulled for your Just Dance presentation. It's to see if maybe this year, finally, you'll give me another Prince of Persia game.
Oh my God.
I mean, after that movie, I don't know if they're getting that.
No, we don't talk about the movie.
Years. The movie's good. It has been 8 years since the last new Prince of Persia game, I believe. I believe 2013 was Forgotten Sands, which I liked. I don't know why people hate on that one. It was a good game. Give me another Prince of Persia, for God's sake, please.
And do you know why no one really wants to talk about Prince of Persia? Because they're talking about Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
It's as soon as they got so popular, I knew Prince of Persia was gonna spiral out. But listen, Assassin's Creed has had its time. It turned into a yearly series. Its buzz has dropped. It's time. It's time to bring back the king, or the prince, if you will.
Ha ha ha.
And they'll just call it the King of
Assassin's
Persia.
Creed isn't really even about it's not set in the Middle East anymore.
No, yeah.
And is it even really about parkouring as much? I don't know.
No, this last Valhalla is about being a Viking who can dual wield shields.
Exactly. Listen, the crossover isn't there anymore. Or the overlap isn't there anymore. Give me back Prince of Persia. Give it to me. Call up Jordan Mechner. Have him write a new game. Let's go.
Okay, so I'm going to be a little bit more nuanced with my answer. There is a game that hasn't been made yet, but it's supposed to come out soon, and man, I hope they give us a release date. Nirvana, Cyberpunk Bartender Action.
I've
It is
never heard
a
of this.
visual novel.
You mean
Well, go ahead.
Are you trying to say nuanced or weeb-like? This sounds like a weeb choice.
Come to your podcast.
Hey, it's like the game is Venezuelan, I think.
I mean, you can be a Venezuelan weeb.
isn't there a game like that called Valhalla?
Yes, it's the prequel to it.
Okay.
Oh.
And they have not released any information. I'm looking on their Steam page right now for when is the release date on this, and they have not said anything. It's just we're working on it. We have new concept art. We have all of this, and I'm just tell me when it's released, because by God, it's been too long.
Let's see. So for me, this is kind of a difficult question, actually, because I got...
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I have to interrupt.
Oh, okay.
I just looked at the end of the trailer that says Trouble in Paradise 2020. Liars. All of you.
Oh, welcome to
That's true. There was Trouble in Paradise in 2020.
That's pretty damn
Very true.
Being lied to by your release dates, welcome to being a Kingdom Hearts fan. Or
You
if
got
you were
release
actually...
dates?
Oh, God. Very, very loose release dates. Very loose release dates.
What were you saying about your expectations, Andrew?
For me, this is a hard question because I actually got the game announcement that I've been waiting forever for.
Oh.
The World Ends With You is getting a sequel.
Yes. Oh my God.
Neo, the world ends with you.
After 14 years, it is getting a sequel. It is a 14 or 13 years. I got the original game for my birthday when I was in middle school. So I never thought that The World Ends With You would come back in such fashion, in such brute force as it has lately with the new Neo game announcement, which is a direct sequel, as far as I can tell. And the anime adaptation of the first game, which is currently airing right now, and my God, it's gorgeous.
I still need to see that.
I don't want to jinx anything, but I must say that it is exceeding my expectations for an adaptation. And I had some pretty high expectations, I'm not going to lie.
It's also kind of weird that they didn't do anything with it for so long, because I remember when that game came out and I played it, I was like, this is one of the best things that Square has made in a decade.
Yeah.
And it was just total radio silence after that.
As IGN called it in their 2007 original review of the DS game, The World Ends With You is a modern RPG. It took all the typical elements, the cliches of RPGs we've gotten used to from Square Enix over the past couple decades with games like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy, and others, and put a massive spin on all the concepts and gave us something that felt fresh, new, relevant, and inspired by the avant-garde rock and rap culture of the time that existed within Tokyo,
right,
as well as American culture. I loved it. And it's one of my biggest influences on my taste in music, my taste in games, my taste in art. They announced that game already. So I mean, I don't have that to go off of now. So if you ask me what I want to see at E3, I'm going to tell you it is either A new F-Zero game, or B, some announcement about Mother 3 being localized. So either way, I'm still setting myself up for disappointment. I must truly be a masochist when it comes to game announcements, because I never get what I want.
Mario Kart 9.
Just because you ran out of fingers on your monkey's paw.
I must say, like, I never thought Final Fantasy Versus 13 would come out, and eventually did as Final Fantasy 15. I never thought Kingdom Hearts 3 would happen. Where there's a will, there's a way. I'm just going to be 40 years old by the time that they make a new F-Zero game. So
gotta predict those turns instead of react to them.
Yeah. I mean, God, I love racing games like F-Zero, where you just have to get to know the course well enough that eventually becomes muscle memory, and you predict the turns and you hit the drifts at the right time moments. I love that. To me, it's like, I don't know. That's the type of video game that's always come easier to me to play than other like real-time action games. You know, I grew up on F-Zero to a certain degree. So, yeah, who knows? I guess if I want to be realistic, I'll say this. I hope that maybe they'll announce Tony Hawk Pro Skater HD for the Switch.
Ooh.
Because that way more people will play that game, because it's a really, really good game. I'm sorry, not HD. It's 1+2. That's the official name. It's the remake made by Vicarious Visions. I played it on the PS4, and God, it was a massive nostalgia ride. They had good old music and good new music. That was the first time I heard Machine Gun Kelly's Bloody Valentine song. I think that game would reach a much wider audience on Switch. So I'd be pretty happy if they announced a port. Okay. Well, those are all of our kind of like our games that we hope to hear about. I think we've gone kind of over predictions well enough. Is there anything that we missed? I guess I could say, like, I hope that Devolver does their yearly E3 presentation again, and it's just filled with even more madness as usual. Like, I don't know how many of you have seen a Devolver developer presentation, but those things go off the freaking rails.
So what you're telling me is that it devolves?
It devolves. It truly does. It devolves into a spiral of insanity only comparable to Adult Swim programming. So it's right up my alley. I love it. I absolutely love it. Adult Swim is my aesthetic. So
T-shirt, everybody.
I look forward to seeing if they have a crazy presentation this year.
One thing I do look forward to is indie presentations, just because I don't play a lot of indie games, but I always look at a lot of indie games when they have their presentations, and I'm like, that's a really cool idea. That's awesome art style. That is different and really good, and I hope it turns out okay.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking forward to hearing about those.
Yeah, indie games are cool. And Nintendo does a really good job of showcasing indie stuff, even in their like E3 directs. So I'm sure we'll see something there.
I'm pretty sure PlayStation has also made an attempt to show at least a couple of them in the past, which is good because it's like you live and die on your titles, guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like one of their indie titles that came out with the PlayStation 5, The Pathless. Stunning, gorgeous. I love that game. So aesthetically pleasing, and it was cool. It was really cool. But yeah.
Let's see. I guess now would be a good time to move on to the 3x3s then.
Hooray!
Yeah. Okay.
Yay, now you get to hear about our taste in video games, everybody. In case you're confused what a 3x3 is, it's normally just these are nine things that would best describe me, and we're specifically focusing on our video game taste since we're talking about E3. Normally this is done with anime, but yeah.
Okay, so who wants to go first?
I made mine first on the list. It'll probably be easiest to find and then go roll down.
Okay,
And I don't know if we have the ability to show it.
I actually do have the ability to show it. I'm gonna put it up. I'm gonna put it up on screen here. And Andrew Montz, maybe you want to like share it with our Discord chat too.
Oh yeah. Copy image. What channel do you want me to put that in?
You could just put it in like our podcast discussion channel.
Okay.
I've got it up on screen right now on YouTube.
Oh gosh, darn it.
So while he gets that pulled up,
Yep.
yeah. Did you
So
find it?
it's
okay.
Yeah, I got it. I just replied to it so people can just go up further to actually go see what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, can you all see this?
So, going in order from top left, going right, and then down. Top left is going to be Nier Automata, followed by Valhalla Cyberpunk Bartender Action, Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon, Dot Hack GU Volume 3 Redemption. I can cheat and I can say Recode because they had a 4-volume collection in one game, but I knew that if someone was like, you gotta pick one, I would have to tell you this one. The center tile is Slay the Spire, followed by Fire Emblem Awakening. Funny enough, the image that I chose here is who I shipped with the main character.
Of course.
And then God of War 4, Shovel Knight, Spectre of Torment, and the mystery one that people might not recognize is Batman NES.
That's
what
great.
that is. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What was so special about Batman NES?
Okay, so this one was one of the very first games that I played. We basically had 3 NES games at the very beginning of what I can remember. We had the original Super Mario Duck Hunt, Xenophobe was the name of that game. I never really played that one. And the other one we had was Batman NES. Now, I grew up in a very Batman-centric home. And so, like, I already love Batman. Batman's cool, he's fun, and he's interesting. And then I get to play the video game where I get to be him, and this is great. One of the things that I really enjoy about this game today still is that its platforming is solid. Wall clings are something that you don't just do, you have to time everything right. This particular section that you see on the bottom over here, there's a little section at the end of the first level where you can either go onto a platform, kill an enemy, go onto another platform, kill an enemy, go onto another platform, kill an enemy, or there's just a shaft going up. And if you know how to platform and just go left, right, left, right, left, right for wall clings, you just speed through the whole thing. And I was like, wow, games can have paths. This is fun.
You found a hack. You found the hack of wall.
No, the
wall
hack
jumping.
was when I faced the third boss and I realized I could punch him in such a way that he just goes over to the corner and is slashing the corner and does nothing else for the rest of it. And I go, do I just punch him in the back of the head until he's dead and I win? Cool.
Oh, that sweet, sweet cheese.
Yeah, well, the funniest thing about this is that when this game came out, it was in 1989. And everybody's going to tell you that this is a tie-in game, which is mostly true. When this was in development, it was just two guys from Japan who really, really liked Batman. And they pitched it, and they're like, okay, Tim Burton's making a movie soon. Can you throw the Joker at the end of the boss? It's like, well, we were going to do Firefly, but yes, we could throw in the Joker?
Wow, Firefly, really?
Firefly was the first boss, and then it was going to be Lightning Bug to be the end boss.
Oh.
So it kind of has this cyclical thing of you start off with a boss that you can handle, you learn how to play the game, and then it turns out to be Lightning Bug who is going to be your final boss, kind of circling back to your very first boss.
That's pretty cool,
That's kind
actually.
of a deep cut.
Yeah, that's a deep cut. That's why I was like, that's an interesting pick in general.
Yes, and this is a game that has stuck with me continuously, and if you want to ruin my childhood in 5 minutes, pull up the speedrun.
I've only seen Firefly in I forget what it was called, but the comic that follows the Gotham City detectives. I don't think I've ever actually seen him in a Batman comic.
I've seen him in a Batman show. He was in The Batman. I've been rewatching that recently on HBO Max.
I mean, there's also Batman Arkham Knight. He was a mini boss.
I believe it, yeah.
Yeah, he was lighting fire to Gotham Fire Departments, and so, you know.
Wait, what? Okay, that's...
Well, and if nothing else, this game warms my heart because it has pure NES goodness for its soundtrack. I can't tell you a bad track on its entire thing. Heck, I went onto Bandcamp and bought a metal cover album of this game's music purely because it's like, I can't believe they made this and it's good. I need to buy it.
Nice.
Their name is Super Madness. Shout out to you guys. You guys absolutely rock. But yes, that is probably the deep cut of this list. I am happy to answer questions about any of them.
I highly approve of Nier Automata. Just want to put that out there in case listeners haven't guessed yet. I very much like that game.
It is sometimes a hack and slash, sometimes a twin stick shooter, always a tragedy.
What's the bottom center one there again? Is that Hollow Knight?
Shovel Knight.
Or Shovel Knight?
That's
Okay.
Shovel Knight Spectre of Torment. Now that one is interesting, because this is from another game that I bought the original one, and Yacht Club Games was just a bro, and it was like, oh, you help buy this game, you know what, just have this one. It's like, oh, this is gonna be a fun chapter. No, this is a full game. Again? Okay, sure, why not?
It was really cool because Plague Knight was just sort of a remix of the same levels, and Spectre is completely new levels, which was...
Oh my god, yes.
Cool.
And it's the origin story of how all of the Order of No Quarter gathers and why Spectre Knight is serving the Enchantress, and it's just such a moving story. It's gonna sound cheesy, but I actually was really close to tears at the ending screen for this because it's just such a moving story.
I mean, that's a good sign of a good game, because I'll tell you when I get to my list, there's gonna be a lot.
Yeah. And that was a really, really moving story. And it's kind of like the same way for like God of War right next to it, where it was just like, I was expecting hack and slash, violence, whatever, but not like Kratos actually being a good father.
Seriously?
But he can't remember
He's actually
his
a good
son's
father?
name. Yeah.
Boy. It's his name, Boy. That's it.
I wouldn't say that's a good
Yes,
father.
he calls him boy, but like the advice that he's giving him is like genuine. And the only time he really gets mad at him is when Atreus absolutely fucks things up and he should have known better. And he just goes, boy, I will speak and you will listen. We are in this because of you, and we are going to get this out, but this was your mistake, and we are paying for it. And I was like, I'm sorry, Dad.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry.
Wow, that really drives it home. That's pretty
It
cool.
was just like, how is that unfair of him to say? It wasn't. It was like really good elements of it. And it's also funny because he's voiced by Christopher Judge, who is Teal'c from Stargate. So it was like my childhood coming back to me on that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, speaking of God of War, I'm upset that they had to delay the release for Ragnarok. So we might get a trailer, we might get a trailer this E3, but we're not getting. But yeah, Ragnarok's.
I'm not upset.
Maybe we're gonna get that.
I'm not upset with that because I'd rather have it be a good game than one like Cyberpunk.
Yes.
I
mean, I would say a delayed game is always better, but then Duke Nukem Forever.
I'll actually say that Cyberpunk 27 was delayed 8 times, I believe. So yeah, I guess.
So the other ones that we haven't really talked about on here, the top middle Valhalla, spelled VA11 Hall A, is actually the designation of the bar. This is a visual novel, so it is probably the easiest one to complete out of all of these. It is a very chill one, and funny enough, because it's June, this actually has Pride representation. So it's actually really interesting that it's like, I don't ever really get a lot of stories in here that have characters that are on the spectrum of that, so it's actually really cool to see that. The other nice thing is that since you're the bartender, you control what music plays. You get to choose when you get to play any bits of the music, and there's actually an achievement called I Like This One, Okay? And you just put all the same song on the jukebox.
Nice.
It's like, okay, that's great. Castlevania Curse of the Moon. Funny enough, like not Castlevania Curse of the Moon. Bloodstained Ritual of the Moon.
We heard what you said. We heard what you said.
That one was just like a stretch goal, and it was just like I paid $100 to have Bloodstained make a real game, and they're just like, we'll give you this little bit, and it's just like, this is like everything I wanted out of the NES games. And it's such an interesting game because there's 3 different ways that you can approach the final end boss. Whether you get your teammates, whether you killed them, or whether you just ignored them. And all of them are the exact same boss, but approached so differently and play completely differently when you get there. It's such a fun experience, and it's one that I would highly recommend.
Really builds well off of Castle. Like, kind of acts like the following games didn't exist. You did to make another Castlevania.
Well, yeah, and the fact that they get all the bosses to be so unique and just so much fun to play every single one of them. I can't tell you a bad boss amongst any of them. Like, all of them I'd be like, oh yeah, it's this one, let's do this again. Diehack GU, funny enough, and I will fight to the death on this one, they do a better job of episodic gaming than Valve does. I fucking said it.
Oh yeah, like they had this larger story planned for Hack, and they spaced it out properly.
Yes.
The Hack GU trilogy came out in like what, the mid 2000s?
Yes, that was probably about 2006, I want to say, because I finished this by high school. And then I bought it for PS2 because I bought it from a friend. And then I bought Last Recode. So I have played this game 3 times, and I platinumed it on PlayStation 4.
Hell yeah.
There are so many interesting things about this one because you're doing this from a screen on your computer. Because this is a game within a game. So it has the greatest out to any questions of where did he pull that sword up? Doesn't matter. It's the MMO they're playing.
Yeah.
Like, you get to do custom screens on it. You have the ability to go into chat rooms and find what people are talking about on the news. They guessed a couple things of technology absolutely right, which is actually fascinating. You get to choose what games you play for Crimson Versus at all, which is a 4-card game, which is really, really weird, but I love that bit about it.
Hack was very progressive in that it was a multimedia franchise.
Yes,
that bridged video games, manga, anime, and it all tied
audio
together.
CDs. Audio dramas absolutely played a huge role into this one because they came, like, the first one just came with like a demo disc that you would just listen to, and it's just like they're all named things that are GU. So like Geeks Utopia, Grand Unification.
Oh, that's cool.
Genetics Unknown was another one. It's just like they never fully explain what GU is, and that was kind of the beautiful thing about that. But the story on this is really good. Particularly when it's like, okay, well, the anime kind of had this thing that was called the Forest of Pain, and when you finish the game on 3, they're like, by the way, guys, we dropped a new event, the Forest of Pain.
Oh, God.
It's like, no. It's a 100 floor dungeon. The largest that is outside of that is 6.
Oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh.
By the time you hit level 50, you're not allowed to go back into town.
Jeez.
But
yeah. Well, Dot Hack, just like in general, like it was a multimedia franchise that really understood storytelling, and it did it across multiple mediums. So
yes.
I highly respect that you have one of the GU games on there. I have Last Recode. I need to play it. I only ever watched the Dot Hack anime. I never actually got into any of the games, but I always wanted to.
GU does a fantastic job of that, and if you have, I think Last Recode actually has the demo disc files on there that you will unlock as you play the game. Definitely get a listen to them, because if you like the world building from that, you're going to love it. Okay. And that was the nice thing, is that a lot of the world building that you could see was in chat rooms, through emails, through news reports, and if you didn't watch any of it, didn't matter. You could still enjoy the game. But if you wanted to learn more about what the world was like, you could get so deep into it that I can tell you things about that game's in-game mythology.
Yeah, there's some
the
massive
curse of humans and beastmen, but I won't get into that just now. But the selling point, if you guys are just like, okay, well, that's just a lot of things that are like about the world, I want to know what the gameplay is like. You can nail enemies to the ceiling with bullets.
I mean,
that's pretty cool.
What more can you ask for?
It's just like, you literally shoot your gun faster than you can reload. So by the time you reload, they don't fall fast enough, so they just keep going up. And there have been multiple times in-game where the enemy's at 0 health, I'm still putting them up, and they hit the ceiling, and the game's like, okay, congratulations, you win, here's the stuff, get going on the game, stop shooting it! It was just such a glorious feeling, and it happens in all versions of the game that I've played, and it just works. It's a really, really great game series. I really don't want to talk too much about the story about it, other than you absolutely need to play it. Let's see.
That kind of brings me back to thinking that I wish CyberConnect 2 would revisit the Dot Hack series.
Oh my god.
I thought Last Recode was kind of like their comeback to the franchise, and they definitely treated it like that in the marketing, but they haven't done anything with it since. And Last Recode came out like at least 2 years ago.
Yes, and the other big thing is that they really, really grabbed my wallet when it's like, oh yeah, Volume 4 is included. Volume 4 is ridiculously shorter compared to the rest of them. I didn't care. But the bad thing was that they allowed you to port your game over from Volume 3 to Volume 4. I hit max level when I was in Volume 3.
Oh.
And there was literally an item that you had called Cat's Bell, and if you equip it, non-boss enemies just ignore you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, literally, unless you attack them, they ignore you. So I was just like, oh, so this whole, like, hallway that I'm supposed to face all these enemies, I can just walk through.
That sounds nice. That sounds real nice.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, I guess we're going to this one, and I'm not gonna lie, it's hype as hell, and I enjoyed it. It was ridiculously short, and then they're like, you can play this for the last day of this game, and I was just like, I'm good. I'm good. I had my fill, and then they unlock the voice actor jokes over the official video of it, and it's just, oh, so freaking funny. And you get an achievement for it too, which is even better. It was the last one that I got to platinum the whole game, was just watch this video.
Nice.
For Fire Emblem, the only thing I'm gonna say is that Fire Emblem Awakening is my favorite Pokemon game.
Wait a second.
No, that checks out. That checks out.
Max leveled.
I definitely see the eugenics in both.
I don't mean I max leveled my team. I max leveled everyone with Limit Breaker. There is nothing more I can do in that game. It's like I've beat the DLC, I've beat all of this. I probably sank 250 hours Because Laurent, who is in the bottom right of that image with the glasses, I misunderstood how you're supposed to recruit him, so I forgot him.
Oh.
So I went 40 hours backwards into the game, played it again so I could recruit him. And I have not regretted that ever since.
No.
Okay, so if I've saved the center tile for last. Y'all need to play Slay the Spire.
Okay.
The Spire is two genres I did not know needed to exist together, and it absolutely does. Roguelike, deck builder. The 4 characters you see on screen all play completely differently, have totally different draft pools. Every single time you beat a monster, you will get a card that you can activate and use in your game, and then you move forward to the next one, and to the next one, until the next one, and try to climb up the spire. I have died probably 97% of the time. And I've beat the final boss with all 4 characters. It takes a good long while, but there is so much depth to this that I was playing this when it was in beta. And if you want to know what makes a good game, it's when your community manager fucking cares.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I have a video on my personal YouTube channel for Professor Shinobi that's called Press Right to Crash. And it was me sending patch notes to them going, guys, on controller, when you have these 2 relics put together and you press right, it crashes the game. And they actually replied to it on Reddit where I posted it, and it's like, oh, this is actually really helpful, thank you. And it came up on patch notes number 43, Forethought, where I was the first note where it's like, hey, we had a problem with these 2 relics and on controller it would crash the game. Now it doesn't.
I mean,
like, wow, you actually listened.
Like, you heard me. You actually
Senpai noticed me and cared. And the music in this game is really stinking good. All 4 characters play completely differently. In Magic terms, you have aggro, you have combo, you have control, and then you basically have form switching, because one basically is like different stances, I think is how they officially named the Watcher's abilities. Artifacts play a huge role into that game. It's such a great game, and the community is so inviting. Speedruns of this are just mind-boggling, because I think they got it down to like 4 minutes to beat a minimum of like 23 encounters. It's ridiculously hard, but man, when you reach the pinnacle of the Spire, it is so rewarding that was the music I listened to after my second COVID shot. I'm not kidding. I listened to The Spire Slain on the OST as the first song I listened to after that, and I had tears in my eyes.
I mean, that's very telling. Like, damn.
It's just like, this is what I wanted to listen to. And it was just like, it was the same concept. I have been through so much fucking shit through all of this, and I am so goddamn tired of fighting this.
Have we just really given up on this being like a PG-13
we probably should restrain as much as we can.
Okay.
I mean, let the man have.
But his passion is appreciated.
Yes, I went through so much crap in the last year that it's just like, you know what? I need this win, and when I got that win, it was just so rewarding.
Good.
And that's ultimately what I wanted to show on this one, is that it has the combination of a lot of things that I love. I love card games, I love draft, I love RPGs, I love tangential stories that it does. This also has a little bit of humor into it, because like the popular meme is that one of them is called the Cultist, and it just looks like a crow mask with like crow blue feathers all over his arms, and they only have one voice actor in this entire game. And so the same guy that is the champion that's like is also and so every single time you fight the Cultist, it gives itself a buff, so it goes caw.
Wow.
It's just so much fun, and it like it has something that I want to nail home, guys. If you have a game and you lose, if the first thing that you blame is yourself, you're playing a good game. And that's what I did every time, is that I was like, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I overreached. I did not draft this properly. I'm going to die. Great.
Yeah, you know it's a good game when you're like, okay, it's like, I know where I messed up in the playthrough. It's not that game, the game cheesed me. It's, I know where I made the wrong mistake.
Yeah, this is, I screwed up. I did not draft enough cards to block damage. This is a problem.
Okay, let's. Sorry to cut you off, man.
I'm done with that one. Absolutely, I want to see everybody's 3x3.
Yeah,
I took so much time.
Let's move through the next 3x3s a little bit faster because we are already at like an hour 15.
Oh my goodness, I am so sorry.
Trey, I'm gonna put yours on screen next here, and you can.
Alrighty then, let me make Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3, Yu-Gi-Oh! Capsule Monster from Coliseum. In the middle row, we've got Spider-Man 4, Spider-Man for the PS4, Pokemon Emerald, Hades, and in the bottom row, we've got Digimon Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memories, Super Mario World, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So,
okay. I gotta say, the one that gets me is that I did not put a single Yu-Gi-Oh! One on my list, and Capsule Monsters is the one that you put on yours.
Yes, so let me explain this. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Castle Monsters was actually probably my last pick. It was like my wild card pick, I guess. Because I was trying to think. I had come up with basically the other eight games on this list were basically set from the beginning. But I could not figure out what I wanted to put for my 9th game. And I started thinking about all the games I've ever played, and I started remembering that one of the things that I like playing, the types of games I like to play include strategy games like Capsule Monsters, because it's basically chess with dual monsters.
Yes.
And I remember when I was little, I couldn't get past the first board, the first game map. I couldn't get past it. Mm-hmm. I stopped playing for a long time, and it was just before I moved. It was either just before or just after I moved to Nebraska that I basically replayed a bunch of my old PS2 games that I had not finished. And I finally was able to play through all of Coliseum and managed to actually beat it. And I was so happy with myself after doing that. And that's when I was just thinking about all my games. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put this on there for 2 reasons. A, because it's my taste in strategy games, and B, it's my taste in games based on shows. Because that's 2/3 of my.
I noticed that.
2/3 of my picks are based off of shows that I watch. Because that is the big thing, that I'm like the easiest mark for marketers. If you put on a show that has a game or something you want to sell attached to it, I will probably buy it. Like, I am the biggest lover of Beyblade. I was the biggest supporter of Bakugan when it was out. The original Bakugan, the new one, I'm just out of the demographic for it at this point.
I mean, Pokemon literally is your center tile. I'm not going to dispute that.
I will get to Pokemon, but as everyone knows, I've talked about how much I love Pokemon on almost every podcast we do when it comes to video games.
Right. Okay, and I gotta ask, what is Digimon Cyber Sleuth?
So, Cyber Sleuth, it's a Digimon RPG. It kind of works like Pokemon, it kind of doesn't. So
I've heard it compared to Shin Megami Tensei a lot. I've never played it.
Yes, that's what people. It's like it's got Shin Megami Tensei and it's got Persona vibes. So yeah. So that's how I guess I can describe it best. But I played this game 3 or 4 years ago. It was probably 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. I got it part of a summer sale from PlayStation. I think I had a really bad year at that point, and I just needed something. And my mom had told me, hey, there's a sale on anime games on PS4 according to your brother. You want any games? I looked through, I was like, you know what, if I could get a game, I'd get the Naruto trilogy set, because I didn't have a way to play it on my PlayStation 4 yet. And then I also saw God Eater kind of looks fun. I still haven't played that since I bought it. So I was like, I saw God Eater. I'm like, that looks like an anime game that I can enjoy. And then I was like, I see Digimon. I'm like, I want to play a Digimon game. That sounds like fun. Played that game, and I played that game non-stop. Well, I stopped, but I played that game for like 2 hours every morning or every day that summer that I bought that game. I played that game consistently, and I spent so much time running around the cyberspace that was in between the digital world, gathering my Digimon team, leveling them up, digivolving them, enjoying these really fun side missions. Like one of the side quests blew my mind. I had to go run and tell Matt this. I always would, after I would stop playing, or if I hit a really interesting spot in the game, I would stop and go run over to Matt's room and talk to him about it, because he's the only other Digimon. He's the biggest Digimon fan I knew at the time. But I would tell him about certain missions that would blow my mind. And one of them was, it was a side quest for, I was hired to stop a hacking at a school. Like a school was dealing with cheaters or something on a test.
Okay.
But it took the darkest turn, because partway through solving the crime by fighting Digimon and whatnot, it just does this visual novel thing of telling me that somehow everyone was hypnotized into jumping off of a building. And it started showing red splatters, like people were dropping to their death. But it turns out we had just hacked the dude's visor or whatever he was seeing. So what just played out didn't actually happen.
That is very dark. And Digimon can get pretty dark sometimes.
Yeah, Digimon was a great game to play. Like building the teams, and the story is fantastic. Shit got crazy in that game, and this is the side story / sequel to the original Digimon Cyber Sleuth. I didn't know that when I got the game, but playing through it, I was like, oh, there's some stuff happening that was probably the main story in the original game, and I'm just playing some random side story that occasionally crosses over. But the gameplay loop is kind of repetitive. Like it's an RPG. You do what you do.
Yeah.
But the story was so good, and when I got to the end, I was crying, because at the end we solved we stopped the destruction of both the human world and the digital world and the collapse of all that. But at the end, it was like, well, something had to be done. Like the universe had to be slightly reset in a way that my memories would be erased of my Digimon and all of my Digimon partners that I had brought with me on that last fight. Most of them had been with me long enough that I'm just like, this is my squad. We are family. And they all popped out and just told me they waved goodbye as they left to go back to the digital world. And my character was reset to base without knowing anything about Digimon. And I was just like,
it wouldn't be Digimon without making you separate from your Digimon at the very end of the journey and force you to grow up and forget about everything cool that happened. That is also quite
Digimon
signature
Try.
Digimon.
And then Digimon Try.
Oh no.
We're not talking about Digimon Try. So yeah, moving on. So we've got Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 and Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. Basically, two of my favorite anime, two of my favorite styles of fighting game. They're arena fighters. The gameplays were very nice. Storm 4 is just the peak. I could have put Storm 2 on this, because that was the first of not the first Naruto game that I played, but the first of the Ultimate Ninja Storm games I played, and it was so good. Mm-hmm. But Storm 4 is just peak. It's just peak Naruto, and I loved it.
Storm 4 takes all the best elements of the previous 3 games and just builds upon it.
Yeah.
It also had the biggest playable cast of characters. You play as literally every single person, and that was significant in Naruto. However, you would only want to play as the 4th Hokage and Madara.
I mean, you could play as broken Naruto or broken Sasuke.
That too. But really, it was just like lightning flash across the screen, or use Madara's like BS Mangekyo Sharingan powers.
Yep. Yeah. No, there was a lot. Or you could use Kaguya and her stupid.
Oh my gosh, Kaguya was playable. Kaguya was playable? Oh, no.
Wow.
She played.
I forgot about that.
She had the ability to change the battlefield, so she would change it from the whatever arena you were in to an ice field or a fire field or a sand field. It was just so bogus.
Wow. Rude.
Yeah. So yeah, those two were just two of my two of my favorite anime and two fighting games that I really love, and I love a lot of the games. Budokai 3 peak Dragon, in my opinion, was the peak of a Dragon Ball fighting game before Fighters, and they have the best story mode with Dragon Ball Universe Dragon World or Dragon Universe. Either way, you get to play as specific characters, but you could also fly around the Dragon World, and that was always the best part of the story mode because you could fly around, find the Dragon Balls, get that wish.
Nice. Yeah, no, the old school Dragon Ball games were awesome. I think I played a lot of Budokai Tenkaichi.
Yeah, that was the one that came out after this one. Then Spider-Man PS4.
I
Spider-Man.
remember how obsessed you were with this game. God, you love this
So
game.
good.
So good. Swinging mechanics, the combat style. Spider-Man, Yuri Lowenthal as Spider-Man is probably my second favorite Spider-Man performance.
Yeah, he's really good. Like
He's really stinking good.
He was born to play Spider-Man.
The fact that the director had the wherewithal to say, we're going to do 2 lines for every take, to say, one is when he's swinging in motion, and one is when he's not moving at all, and he's just perched.
Yeah.
There's actually slight differences in the lines, so it sounds like he's slightly winded when he's moving on the lines. It's just like, what? Seriously, we went that deep?
Yeah, for sure.
No.
It's
and this is another
game.
Yeah, and it's another game that made me cry because the ending is so sad.
I believe it. I was just fascinated, like, they finally did it. Holy shit!
Yeah, and the DLC is really good. It took me a while to actually get to it, but I got to the DLC and I'm like, this is good. Except I hate Screwball. I hate her so much.
Fuck that guy.
She is awful. I know they created her to be the terrible current Gen Z crowd, but God, I hate her. I hate her with a
I was thinking of someone else entirely. Oh, her. She's like Gwenpool, but cringier.
Yep, she is cringe incarnate because she's just an influencer who has who is chaos in general. But yeah, so the other one on here, Hades, another game that I became obsessed with the second I bought it. God damn. The game is so beautifully done, and it just works well with my monkey way of gameplay sometimes.
Yeah, you let me play like the first couple hours of that game, and I had not bought the game, I hadn't played it despite all the hype, and as soon as you let me pick up the controller, like it just felt so natural, just flashing across all the areas and just hack and slash, but still watching out for your enemies' attacks. Like that's a game all built about timing, and that really
very
feeds
much
into
so
your muscle memory quite a bit.
Yeah, so I just love once again, it's another game. When I got to my first clear, first of all, it was just like, hell yeah, suck on it, Dad. You think about this. But
oh my God.
I get to the end and see Mama Persephone, and I'm like, oh my God, this final area just to meet your mother is so beautiful. And then you die again, and it's like, I'm gonna come back. I'm coming back for you, Mom. I'm gonna do this as many times as it takes. Yeah, so there's that. And Super Mario World is just one of the first games that I ever played / owned was on the Super Nintendo, the Mario All-Star. So it had like the first 3 Mario games and Super Mario World. And then my first Game Boy Advance game was Super Mario World with the Mario. There was just the Mario game, that how you would describe it, but it's the one where the turtles would come out of the pipeline, so you would have to jump underneath the platform to knock them over.
Mm.
So those two games were in on my game. That was my first Game Boy Advance game, and just I don't play every Mario game. I've only beaten like one Mario game in my entire career of playing Mario, but Mario's just Mario, and it's platforming goodness. Super Smash Bros. Is just it's the game I played with the homies. It's the game that we all enjoy. I only really got to enjoy. I played Smash before, before 4, but I had never owned it until I got it on the 3DS, and then now with the Switch one, Smash Ultimate is just fantastic. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Pokemon in the center. That is my core. That is who I am.
I was gonna bring that up. I'm like, oh, I see you picked Emerald version.
That was well, Emerald version was not my first game. Hoenn was my first generation of Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I had actually lost my original Ruby and Sapphire versions along with my original Game Boy. So I didn't have games for a while, but I eventually got an SP, got Emerald, Fire Red, Leaf Green, and I just kept buying almost every copy of every version of Pokemon
It was all just downhill after that.
Up until Pokemon X and up until Sun and Moon, where I was like, okay, I'm not gonna buy both versions this time. I only have Moon version and Ultra Sun version and Let's Go Pikachu and Shield. I don't have both versions anymore, but I own all 5 Gen 3 games, all 5 Gen 4 games, all 4 Gen 5 games, all 4 Gen 6 games. And an honorable mention for this list is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky.
Oh, that was the best one, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was very close to replacing Emerald. I was like, if I could put both of these on this list, Colosseum wouldn't be on this list at all. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh! Wouldn't be on this list if I could put both Pokemon games, but yeah. So that's me. Moving on. I've talked enough.
Okay. Frank, we'll push yours up next.
All right, cool.
Okay. There you go.
So if you look at mine, I am very monkey brain. I don't have really patience for games that often. I play either a round of COD and then I go about my day or go to bed or whatever I get off work or whatever.
I see you got Cuphead on here.
Yes, and that is a tragedy because I play that once every other month.
Huh.
Either I do that or I break my Switch. So it's a good thing I only play that about once a month. So the top row is going to be Call of Duty Black Ops. I have a picture of the great Gary Oldman.
I was going to say, who the heck is this? This doesn't look like Call of Duty.
That's not a Call of Duty poster. That's Gary Oldman.
Oh, but he is the best part of Black Ops, my friend. He is Victor Reznov.
I wish I knew who that was.
I know.
Gary Oldman.
Yes.
It's Gary Oldman, obviously.
Gary
Oldman.
Obviously.
Dracula. But yeah, no. Dishonored is the middle one, top middle, and then you have Left 4 Dead 2.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, Left 4 Dead 2 is one of my favorites because that's one of the first games I would play constantly. Like, no matter what else, I mean, like, I could play another single-player game of Call of Duty, or I play another round of Left 4 Dead. Why not? Let's get through this and see how fast I can go. Mm-hmm. But then the middle row is going to be
Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed. Yeah, Force Unleashed 2. And then the middle is Bioshock Infinite. Specifically, I enjoy the DLCs that came for it. Clash in Clouds were basically just a shooter that I was able to unlock some extra stuff. Mm-hmm. But Bear at Sea is a continuation of the story, an epilogue, and it perfectly ends the entire game for you in a very satisfying but tragic way. Mm-hmm. And then as you have Cuphead, which I play very, very few times, but always so much fun to play.
I mean, the jazzy music alone.
Oh, jazzy music, the game art, so great.
The animation is
I
next
just find
level
it
in
interesting
that
that
game.
you're like, I'm monkey brain, I have no patience, and then you pull up Cuphead. That's like, if you are not patient, you are dead.
Again, I play one round and then I give it up for the next month.
Okay.
It's
That's
interesting
how-
to me that you picked BioShock Infinite, though. I'd say out of all the BioShock games, that's the one that I hear people talk about the least.
Really?
And-
Yeah,
I would say the opposite, honestly.
No,
I
it
feel like I
is.
hear people
Yeah,
talk
it
about
is.
more than anything else.
yeah. Bioshock 1 is a great start. Bioshock 2 wasn't made by the same people, so it's kind of
I never hear people talk about
Nah.
BioShock 2.
off-putting. No one likes Bioshock 2. No one.
That's the
But
one I own.
Bioshock, but Bioshock Infinite is the type of game that I like. And what's the game from Bethesda? Skyrim.
Yeah.
I own it on like 3 different platforms.
Oh, wow.
That's
have it on-
dedication.
Yeah, I have it on my Switch, I have it on my PS4, and I have it on my laptop.
Nice. Very accessible.
So it's accessible to if I want to play Bioshock. But the bottom row is Mortal Kombat 2, one of the first few games I ever played in my entire gaming childhood, and I've always loved Mortal Kombat. My favorite character in Mortal Kombat 2, Baraka. He's a monster with he's a monster.
Classic.
He's a monster with blades coming out of his arm. What can you not love about that?
I mean, he does need a dental plan, though.
I think the thing that I hate about him is that he reminds me about the end of that really terrible Wolverine origin movie.
True. Very true.
Oh, you mean that
Yeah.
monster that they turned Deadpool into?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That movie is now available on Disney Plus, or it's going to be very
Oh,
soon.
you gotta be
Oh,
kidding me.
no!
Yeah.
It does not fit at all.
Yeah, and then bottom middle is Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Yahar hee hee.
Yeah.
I played every single Assassin's Creed game, including the ones that came on PSP.
Wow.
Sick.
And
That's
what?
impressive.
Yeah, and the multiplayer one that came on on the iPod on iOS like years ago.
Again, dedication.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's dedication to the craft, dude. I have total respect for that.
but I would say 4 is the better one that brings a lot more. It was either that one or Revelations, what was the end of Ezio's story.
Oh, yeah. Yep. My,
But,
Oh, yeah, that was like 2.75.
Yeah. So I picked 4 over that one because again, this brought a whole new game mechanic to it, which was the ship battles, which funny enough is supposed to be a whole nother game, but when that's coming out, who knows?
Side note, Ezio really
I'll
should
play
have been in
that.
Smash.
Yeah.
He really should have been.
Here,
They have a Mii
because he being his
costume.
full caliber, it was really hard for him to commit to both.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then the last one I have is Apex Legends. It's a fun shooter game. I can just play a round or two, get in, get out, move about. I loved God, I can't think of the names from them now. Not what was it called again? So Titanfall. Titanfall was a very fun
Yeah.
game I played, and this is in that same universe. So a lot of story. So it just expands on the story for this universe. But I really wish Titanfall 3 would come out soon. That is my game list.
Yeah,
I would say
I got
I would say
somebody
that-
somebody in the chat was asking for Titanfall 3.
yeah. I understand the wait and the longing for it. But Dishonored, the top middle one, I don't think I really said much about it, but it's a game by Arcane Studios and Bethesda.
Mhm.
So the game that's coming out now is called Deathloop. It's made by the same people. It's similar to this game and all that. An arcane, magical assassin. Very fun game. It has different endings depending on how you play it.
Mhm.
So stealth, going in guns a blazing, or stealthing away will change endings. Very
Okay.
fun game. Very fun
That,
game. Very
that,
fun.
that game with that where you have to kill the 8 business douchebags before the time's up, or you die again.
Yeah, that's Deathloop. That's the new game coming out from the studio. So that's I'm hopefully waiting for that one. But again, these games are all tried and true games I play on a semi-regular basis, except for like Force Unleashed 2, which I really wish they would either remaster or give us another one. Because you know how
we're full steam ahead on Fallen Order.
I mean, they can just continue that. That'd be fine. But give us a very proper dueling one. It'd be great. Like, more of that would have been fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know EA has a very bad history with Star Wars games, especially Battlefront.
That's a separate podcast.
I never played it. I stayed away from it for damn good reason.
Yeah, but the Call of Duty Black Ops 1 is the one that the very first few games that they did that didn't start World War II, set during the Cold War, and Gary Oldman being a very prominent member of that game was very fun. Voice acting top notch. Mm-hmm. Gary Oldman, Ed Harris, Sam Worthington, and Ice Cube. Funny enough, Ice Cube was in the game.
All right. Yeah. Hey, why not? I'll take Ice Cube.
I mean, yeah. That's a paycheck.
I imagine most of his lines are just hilarious. I'm sure he's just no bullshit the whole way through.
But no, it's a very fun game. These are just my games I enjoy to a certain extent. You know,
right.
Monkey brain I am.
That's fair. Hey, man, we all got our preferences.
Well, you were being honest about all of them, which is great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I absolutely adored Left 4 Dead 2 for a totally different reason, and it was all the co-op that I got to do with my friends when they were over.
Yeah.
Man, that game plays wildly different when you get 4 people.
Oh, yeah, no, the couch co-op is always the best part. That's, again, I played with my siblings with that game, so...
Need more couch co-op in this day and age.
I miss couch co-op. I miss those days.
So much. It's actually why a lot of people speculate that's why Let's Plays are so popular, is because it's kind of like the digital version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can at least watch somebody else play a game and kind of feel like you're with them on it.
Well, because they'll crack jokes about it, and you're part of the experience, and you're telling them where to go, and it's just something that we're missing a lot of. And so when someone dropped Left 4 Dead, it was just like, this is co-op. This is good co-op.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to Ed's 3x3. I am actually I wanna bring this up here because his probably has the least number of games that I recognize personally.
I will move through this quickly so you can all just bask in my impeccable taste.
All right, we got yours up on screen, bud.
Alrighty, I'll start from the top left and move forward. So, up at the top left there, I have Streets of Rage 5, which came out last year. I am a huge fan of the originals on Genesis, and I couldn't be more happy with this revival. The artwork in it is insane. Each main character has more than 1,000 frames of animation for all the things they do. Each character plays noticeably different from the rest, so that it always feels like you have new tools when you're playing one of the new characters. In addition, they have every single old character from the previous games using their old, pixelated sprites that you can bring to the game. Absolute, just fantastic game. So many options for the player. You can really just freeform combo people in certain ways. Great game and incredible music.
Nice.
Secondly, there I have Nier, Gestalt, the OG. It's not that I specifically prefer it over Replicant. It's just that I haven't finished Replicant yet, so I can't really make a judgment of that.
Gestalt has Papa Nier. So.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that is the other thing that maybe it's just because I'm a filthy American, but I do like the protagonist of this more personally. For me, I feel like the story with him being a father clicks with me a little bit better. I also just like that I'd like to see more games with old men protagonists, people who aren't teenagers or 20-somethings.
Yeah, it's pretty oversaturated there.
Yeah, and the game
it's almost
is incredible.
Like the target.
Yeah.
I mean,
the game is incredible.
You can play God of War then.
Yeah, the game's fantastic. I love Automata, but to me, the original will always hold a special place in my heart. I feel like where Automata is a more philosophical game that kind of hits you in the brain, the original has a much stronger emotional punch to me, and so that's why I picked it over Automata. Though I absolutely love Automata.
Oh,
and I like the rest of the Drakengard games, but they're horrible games. They're great. They're terrible. Play them if you're a masochist and want to see where these games
I was gonna say,
man,
you should have Drakengard 2 on this 3x3.
No, don't play that one. Don't play that. Not worth it. Not worth it.
What, you don't like Drakengard 2? Like the best of the trilogy, the best of Yoko Tara's creations?
Oh man, listen, I could do a whole podcast on Drakengard 2 and why it sucks. Honestly, sucks less than people say, but still not worth playing. So,
yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, moving on, we have Shinobi 3.
I do not appear in that game, and I'm waiting for my chance.
It is one of the best side-scrolling games of all time. It's a little bit on the easier side, but it has a lot of really interesting stuff in it. Again, it gives the player so much freedom. It gives you way more options than you need to get through the levels or beat any of the enemies, and so you can just kind of be creative with how you approach situations, just kind of do what you feel like at any given time. It's a good-looking game, great music. Like the only thing is that it is a little bit easy. At this point, when I play the game, I end up with the final boss with like 30-something lives.
Oh, wow.
And I usually turn Shuriken to 0, and it doesn't stay that way very long. And then at the end of the boss, I mean, if you want to, you can get to the end of the boss with 30 lives and then just use the jutsu that spends a life to do damage and just beat the boss by spamming that the entire time.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. All I see is a ninja on a surfboard, and I'm like, I haven't played this game, and I need to.
That is a rocket surfboard.
It's
And
a
I
rocket
highly recommend
surfboard.
you play that.
That's a rocket. Oh, okay.
I
Shinobi
like the
3.
aesthetic.
Let's see. Is
The
it
other
on?
games are fun too, but this is, I think, the only one you can dash in. At least the only one of the old side-scrolling ones, and that adds a lot to me. The freedom of movement.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, having options in games is definitely a nice tool. That when you get it, it's not like I have to press A, B, B, C.
Yeah, there's just a ton of stuff you can do. So middle row on the left is Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I just wish was accessible to more people. It's Wii U exclusive, and it's still on. It's one of the few games that's still on the Wii U, partially because of its open world, and the size of this game is insane. I am not usually a fan of open world games, but this one is huge. But more importantly, there's stuff to do everywhere. There is so much content. I played some 200 hours of this game, and I didn't even get through all of the voiced side quests.
Holy cow.
There's so much information on each and every one of the playable characters. They each have like several quests that you can go through that are specific to them. It does a really good job of gating content. So like you can swim across the ocean and get to like the final continent as soon as you turn the game on. But it takes so long to do things that way, and then it's not until about 40 hours into the game that you get the mechs, and then another probably 20 hours or so until they can fly. And so it does a really good job of just, as you get used to the content, it gives you access to more content. And there are so many different subsystems, ways to build your character and things to generate, and so much content. I really like the characters. It ends on a cliffhanger, unfortunately. I know that the director has said that he wants to make a sequel, and that it's probably going to happen at some point, but we'll see. They've talked about porting it. People have asked him about porting it to Switch, and he's said that it's probably not going to happen because of the sheer amount of content in the game.
Well, what about the Switch Pro?
No. You mean the console?
It's not a matter of processing power. It's a matter of the man hours necessary to port all the content.
The Switch could probably handle like a scaled down Xenoblade Chronicles X game. However, yeah, the developers need to actually scale it down.
The music is done by I can't remember his first name. I think it's Hiroyuki or something. Hiroyuki Sawano. He's mostly known by his last name. Yeah. Of course, the guy that did Thunderbolt Fantasy. Watch Thunderbolt Fantasy, as well as a lot of other popular properties.
Taiwanese puppets. It's like Chinese puppets. The greatest master
puppets.
Yes, Taiwanese puppets. The greatest of mastery.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, that is the game. Highly recommend it.
Quick question, Ed.
Yes?
Was the name of Shinobi 3 Shinobi Return of the Ninja Master?
Return of the Ninja Master is the subtitle, yeah.
Okay. It's $1 on Steam.
Yeah,
I
go play it.
don't-
Go play it.
Okay.
It's $1.
It's very
what you're
little-
talking, what you're waiting on.
very
Well,
little,
the only reason that I haven't bought it already is that I wanted to make sure it was the same Shinobi we're talking about. So it's like, okay, Ed, you it's me $1.
The arcade ones are a little mileage may vary, but all the rest of the Shinobi games are really good. So
I mean, this one's based off of the Sega Mega Drive and Genesis Classic bundle, so I think it's more off of that.
yeah, that's the correct one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on to the centerpiece of my 3x3, I didn't put these all in a particular order, but I did put this one in the center because it is the greatest game of all time. Final Fantasy Tactics, and I went with War of the Lions, the PSP version.
Yep.
This is the baseline of my political stances. This is
The funny thing is that I know you're not kidding. Like,
I'm not.
wow.
This game is absolutely incredible in both story and gameplay. It's so much fun to build your characters. You can do all sorts of wacky stuff that it feels like you shouldn't be allowed to do.
I have not played a lot of this game, but I do remember that it tackles both politics and religion.
It doesn't really have.
Wow.
It doesn't have that much to do with religion outside of its political power and its sway on people, but it really is. And when I've looked back at it and talked to people about it, I've realized it is a story very much about privilege. It's a story about a young nobleman who believes he's in the right and not doing anything particularly bad, but thinks that he's a good guy by trying to make everyone trying to prevent conflict. But then he realizes that the status quo is a problem, and that he himself has benefited from the privilege of his position for his entire life, and he tries to throw it away, and then he realizes that he can't separate himself from his privilege.
Wow.
And it's a wonderful game.
More Americans need to play this game.
What's that?
More Americans need to play this game, like right now.
It's an incredible game. But the music is fantastic. It is. God, I wish I could remember the guy's name. Sakamoto, the guy who did the Final Fantasy 12 soundtrack. And it's incredible experience. Highly recommend it. There are 2 translations. The PSP one, in my opinion, is better. It's a cleaner translation. They do a sort of faux Shakespearean thing with it that a lot of people don't like, and some of the classic lines don't hit as hard. But the original translation is a gigantic mess. At least one instance tells you to kill the wrong person to win a battle.
Oh no!
That's a problem.
Yeah, it's a mess. Highly recommend the PSP version that has some slowdown you can patch for. Anyway, moving on. The right center is Outrun 2.
Hey, Outrun!
I love this game. I turn this game on all the time to this day, probably once every week or two at least to do a run. It's just so much fun to play. There are a lot of racers that I enjoy, but to this one, it being Outrun, you go through parts of courses, and at the end of the course, you kind of get to choose which route you want to do, and it takes you to things that are all over the world. So it gives me a sense of freedom. I can just kind of play it by ear however I'm feeling. The mechanics, like I said, are super fun. There's lots of different options for gameplay. I'm not a car guy, but if you are, they have the Ferrari license for this, which is why you can't buy this anymore, because their license expired. But they have the Ferrari license, so if you're a car guy, they're all actual Ferraris that you're driving.
Sick.
The music is a lot of fun. It's got some Eurobeat remixes of the classic tunes. I like a lot of the Outrun games, but to me this one is still the best one, and I really don't know if they've made an Outrun since, which is a shame because it really embodies that like classic Blue Sky Sega feeling. Great game. If I ever buy an arcade cabinet, it's probably going to be one of these. It's a thousands of dollar purchase. I don't know if I'm ever going to do it, but I'd like to. Maybe. After that, on the bottom left, we have Gravity Rush. I picked Gravity Rush Remastered, which is the PS4 port, which the physical versions are very expensive, and I lucked out getting one when they did the limited run of it. But the digital version is like $7. Go play this game. It is really interesting. It kind of harkens back to the PS2 platformers, in that you're collecting gems and stuff, and it's this cute little story. I love the characters. I love the music. I should know who did it, but I have forgotten, unfortunately. The music's incredible. A lot of it's very jazz inspired. the main gameplay mechanic, of course, is you control gravity for your character, so you fly around, and it just gives you a lot of freedom to fly around this big floating sky city. The combat leaves something to be desired, but I have too much fun just moving around in the game. And someone at some point, I think, said that if you make moving, just regular movement in your game fun, you've already made a great game. And this is a great example of that. It's just so much fun to move around the world. Mm-hmm.
Recently, Team Force, a couple of the guys on Team 4-Star staff did a playthrough on their channel. So yeah, I've seen some of that gameplay. It looks really fun.
Oh yeah,
very disorienting. Really, I think there's some issues. It's like I heard there
it can make you a little motion sick, especially playing first person mode.
Oh,
why would you ever do first person? Oh my lord!
If you want to get motion sick.
I mean, there was a game I played was Alien vs Predator. You played as an alien that can hop from ground to ceiling to wall to ceiling. God, it made me sick. It made me sick.
That just hurts my stomach to hear.
Ugh.
Anyway, it's a really interesting little game. There's really nothing else like it. The closest things that I can think of are probably like the Spider-Man games. Like I played PS2 Spider-Man. I haven't played the most recent one, but I assume it's similar with like free roaming and interesting movement mechanics. But highly recommend this game. Mm-hmm. On the bottom center, I have Order of Ecclesia. I struggled a little bit to pick which Castlevania game because I really like almost all of them. But I settled on Ecclesia because I think it's an interesting mix between a more structured, like classic Castlevania, and then it has Metroidvania elements and a big open map at the end. I love the main character.
Shinoa is really cool.
Is really cool. Great design, and it's really fun to play. Again, it has a lot of options for your different builds. And it just a lot of creative. Of course, the sprite work in all of the Castlevania games is incredible, and this one's no exception. Even though they've reused some of the sprites since Symphony of the Night, of course, but the ones they didn't reuse, they have really gorgeous sprite work, and like really creative monster designs. And I love the spooky vibe of Castlevania in general. I love those sort of. I'm a big mythology buff and folklore buff, so I love seeing what they tie into those games. Also really solid music. It's unfortunate that it's the DS synths are a little bit hard to listen to in this day and age, I think, for some people, because they're approaching what an actual instrument would sound like, so it doesn't have that like sort of cleaner computer sound so much as like some of the classic chiptune stuff. But
not like Symphony of the Night.
It sort of sounds like, well, Symphony of the Night, I can't remember. Is Symphony of the Night orchestrated?
It is, because it was on CD.
It is. Okay. That's right. So yeah, but it's still a fun soundtrack. I like the melodies a lot.
Oh yeah.
Even if the audio quality is a little rough. Yeah, great game. Play Castlevania games, etc.
I will definitely say on this game, I think this is one of the hardest Draculas I've ever beat.
This is probably the hardest of the Metroidvanias. You can still level up, but it's pretty brutal on you in places if you don't bring certain builds in.
I remember this being brutal.
Dracula is pretty intense, yeah.
The time for games has ended.
I love he gives you a big old kick. He starts walking. He's never done that before.
What to do after he kicked me in the face and just like, did I die? Am I dead?
And then on the bottom right, the last one is Catherine. I haven't played Full Body, so I can't comment on that. So I'm saying the original on PS3. I'm assuming Cath Classic on PC is the exact same thing. There is, on paper, there's not a game that's more designed for me. I love puzzle platformers, which is the main gameplay here, and it really does make you have to think and consider your moves ahead of time, and I appreciate that. I like the story a lot. It's a psychological horror story that to me is very scary, not in the same way that monsters are scary, but when I imagine someone in Vincent's position who finds himself continuing to wind up in the situation where he's doing something that he doesn't want to be doing, is very uncomfortable for me, and so I found it very scary. I like the creature designs, and I think the other real big selling point for me is the music. All of the level themes are remix versions of classical pieces, some of which are some of my favorite pieces. I'm not a huge classical music buff, but I do listen to it quite a bit. And I like Dvorak's Ninth is in there, which is one of my favorites. Bach's Little Fugue in A minor is in there, which is another one of my favorites. Kind of pedestrian pieces if there is anyone listening to this that's actually like a classical music buff. I'm sorry, I'm a casual. But I do love those
when it comes to that.
This is your 3x3. You choose the music.
But I do love the remixes of those pieces. They have like upbeat versions of it. Upbeat is the wrong word because they're not happy, but they're very intense remixes of this music, and it's a lot of fun. And there's the branching paths in the story, and it's another story that features an adult. I forget how old Vincent is, but I think he's approaching 30. And I would have to look that up. Yeah, I'd love to see more games with adult protagonists. And I guess that does it for my 3x3.
Okay, cool. I was actually surprised by the inclusion of Catherine.
He's 32. Wow.
I only played Catherine last year. I only.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. He was 32 because I was 32 when I played it, and I was like,
Right now.
Wow, this game resonates with me a lot.
Okay.
Honorable shoutouts to Soul Calibur 5 and Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, which I cut, sadly.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's hard to take just 9 games that you really care about that are emblematic of your taste. It's pretty difficult to just pick. Unless you're me, where it was difficult for me to remember 9 games I actually beat. So
I'm the cynic.
In case you guys didn't know, I am actually much more of an anime fan than a video gamer. And that's partially just because I thought that I was not good at video games for the longest time. So I didn't play a lot of them as a kid. I didn't really get into video games until I was like a teenager. I'm actually having trouble uploading to the Discord because it's such a big image. So I'm just going to name them off one by one so you guys know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
By the way, so my 3x3 from the top left, moving over to the right, we have Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4.
Okay.
So that is very emblematic of my love for skateboarding. And where my passion for skateboarding came from was strictly Tony Hawk video games and seeing Tony Hawk on the Kids' Choice Awards back in the early 2000s. He kind of defined what I thought of as cool, for the rest of my life. I've always been really fascinated with skateboarding culture. And unfortunately, I never got to skateboard as a kid because my dad wouldn't buy me a skateboard. He accused me of sending myself to the hospital by doing so he bought me a bike instead, which wasn't cool. But
I broke my tailbone rollerblading, so he might have been right.
I mean, he probably was. But it's not that Pro Skater 4 was my first game. My first game was actually a Pizza Hut demo for the original Tony Hawk Pro Skater on the PS1. That's where I first played the
classic.
game.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I got that demo and popped into my PS1 at the time, and I got hooked on that. My parents never bought me the actual full game, but I did get a bootleg copy of the second game for PlayStation when my family moved to South Korea for a little bit. And in case y'all didn't know, in South Korea, they had this massive black market for electronics, and pretty much any game you could think of, they sold there pirated for peanuts. So that's where I really got my start, was with the Pizza Hut demo, then the second game bootleg, which stopped working after a couple of years. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3, same thing, also got a bootleg from the same market for PlayStation. And it wasn't until Pro Skater 4 that came out for the GameCube. I have the image here listed for PlayStation because it was the only one I could find that neatly fit in the box. But I actually have Pro Skater 4 for GameCube, and that was the game that I played the most out of all the Pro Skater games, because by that point I had built up enough of the skill set for how to do all the different tricks, like manuals and grinds and kickflips that I was decent at the game by that point. So I was actually able to complete most of the challenges, collect all the skate letters, all the various different things associated with each stage. I was able to unlock all the stages. I believe Pro Skater 4 is the one that had Boba Fett as a playable character. No, it was Django. Django was playable. Yeah, that's right.
Wait, what?
You could play it.
Yeah, it was that and like Darth Maul and Shrek, I think were
They
also
had all
playable.
sorts of all those games had all sorts of crazy guest characters.
Yeah,
And
Spider-Man was a
Darth
playable
Vader.
character in the second one.
That makes sense, though. But
Yeah.
Okay.
In the
Wolverine
second
was a playable character.
He was, yeah. In the second Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Spider-Man was an unlockable character where you could actually do tricks with web slings, where you could sling your skateboard around like midair. That was really cool, and they actually had a behind-the-scenes video you could unlock in that game where it was footage of Tony Hawk dressed up as Spider-Man doing tricks in like a half pipe. And I vividly remember watching that on a Friday afternoon after school with like a bowl of popcorn in my hands and just thinking, this is it. This is it. This is the epitome of cool. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I love this. Yeah, it's thanks to Tony Hawk Pro Skater, the games, that I fell in love with skateboarding. Eventually purchased my own skateboards in college, and to this day, I have a lot of skating clothing that I like. I'm a big fan of the culture all around. So I have that game to be thankful for. Moving past that, Zelda Phantom Hourglass. That is the next game on my 3x3, and the reason why it's specifically Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass, because that is the first Zelda game I beat.
Okay.
That's a hot take. I got to be honest with you.
I know it's a hot take. Nobody likes this game at all except for me, and it's simply because I beat it. It was my first Zelda game I beat, and I remember when I played it after it came out, it was so difficult and unintuitive at times that I actually had to walk away from the game after dumping like 50 hours into it, and I came back to it 8 months later and finally finished it.
Wow.
There are some really genius moments in that game. The invisible spider boss is an incredible use of the hardware. Is brilliant.
Yeah, one of the hardest things about that game was you had to unlock doors when going through dungeons by drawing like a symbol on your DS touchscreen.
Oh, that age of gaming.
Oh my goodness, you would draw the symbol that you saw on screen, and the game would tell you, "Nah, fam, you didn't draw that right." And you're like, "You gotta be kidding me! I've been drawing this same symbol for the last hour. Yes, I drew it right."
Yep, Castlevania had that same problem where you needed to kill a boss, and it's like, okay, draw the symbol, pull out your stylus. Nope, it's gone. Nope, do it again.
But with Phantom Hourglass, it had a really engaging plot that I enjoyed, and the characters involved in this game, they have genuine progression. Link goes on his own journey, and this is a spiritual sequel it's a direct sequel to Wind Waker, actually. I liked that. I don't think we normally get direct sequels to Zelda games. So that was pretty cool. Spirit Tracks, I never really played much of that because when I found out that it was on land, first of all, I was like, oh, well, there goes the awesome like seafaring mechanics. I don't get to sail to an island literally shaped like a DS. There was an island literally shaped like a DS in Phantom Hourglass you could travel to. It was on like the far edge of the world. It was the coolest thing. So me being like 14 at the time, I just didn't know what to expect. The feeling of exploration in that game was so vivid, and I mean, it's on a DS, not a GameCube, so I could take it wherever I went. Really loved that. So Phantom Hourglass personally is a favorite just because it's the first Zelda game I ever beat, and I've tried playing Wind Waker, and it never really captured that same magic for me for some reason. So I gotta go back and try it again someday. But moving on past that, Nier Automata. I'm pretty sure I've already said how much I like that game throughout this whole podcast, even before our 3x3 discussion. So
I don't think we talked about the music in it, and it absolutely deserves a mention.
Oh boy, the music is so incredible.
Didn't you go to a concert for this for the music for this game?
I did. Ed and I both went to the same orchestrated concert for Nier. Yeah, that was so cool. Got to see Yoko Taro himself in person
incredible.
on stage.
I've never cried at a concert in my life until then.
Yeah,
and you've been to a lot of them.
Powerful. What's the name of the composer? Is it Keiichi Okabe?
Yeah, that's correct, Keiichi Okabe.
Yeah, I actually knew about Keiichi Okabe before Nier because he also did the soundtrack for Etrian Odyssey 4. And
I did not realize that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I never played it, but my roommate in college did, and he loaned me the soundtrack, and that soundtrack got me through a lot of late night study sessions. So when I found out that he did the Nier soundtrack, I'm like, okay, this is going to be great. I very rarely seek out video game OST after the fact, after I play a game. But I played the secret final boss theme from Nier Automata over and over again after I beat that game the first time, and that was a song that I listened to while walking to class. I'd listen to it while eating, while studying. It had this anthemic quality about it, and if you had the context behind the song and the fight that the song was associated with, it would bring tears to your eyes, just knowing how soul-shakingly sad this song was, and how it was really just the character that the song is named after just screaming out in agony after being tortured for so long. It would give me goosebumps whenever I listened to it, and made me kind of want to like scream out into the world myself. I know it sounds really cringy, but it's true. The song was that good. It's
weighty with emotion.
Yes, it sure is. I see what you did there.
It's a very emotional
almost
soundtrack.
like the weight of the world.
Almost like the weight of the world.
Yeah, almost.
So Nier Automata is great.
And you're only one girl.
I want to go on record and say that I bought the game purely on a whim and off of one person's recommendation, and that was Ed. I knew nothing about Nier. Never played the original Nier. Didn't know anything about Drakengard. I just picked up the game because he told me that he was really passionate about it, and I liked the character design for 2B.
I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty much
designer.
That's pretty much what happened with me too. Is that I remember Ed talking about this game and how I needed to play Nier, and then Automata came out. It's like, okay, a couple people were talking about this. Ed, this game crushed my soul, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, there's also a feature at the very end of Nier Automata. I won't spoil it too much, but it does involve you choosing whether or not you want to wipe your game save data.
Completely.
That is kind of a big spoiler, but
I won't say why, but that is a thing that's involved, and I chose to wipe my data. And because I did that, I realized after the fact there was a bunch of post-game stuff that I hadn't done up until that moment. So I willingly went back and started the game all over again from square one and played it a second time. So I'm
right there with you.
I must have dumped around 150 hours into Nier Automata totaling. And that was probably the first time a game had ever gotten me to like sit there at my desk after I finished it and just kind of like question a lot of things, a lot of themes that I brought up, and really make me feel like a lingering amount of, I guess, sentimentality for the characters.
I was gonna say existentialism because holy crap!
It's all about existentialism for sure. Most people know this game by now. Most people play it, and that's great. Even Mike Shinoda of Linkin Park played this game, and that warms my heart.
That doesn't surprise me, and I'm glad he did.
Yeah. So yeah, no, game's awesome. As I said, I hope 2B is in Smash, but even if she isn't, I have Soul Calibur 6 now, so I can play as her in a fighting game. This next one is actually an even hotter take than Phantom Hourglass. Get ready for this.
Okay.
Super Smash Brothers Brawl.
That can be spicy, but my ears are open to what you have to say about it because I gotta.
I know why he picked this one, and I kind of agree with him because I didn't get to play it, but I know what he's talking about.
So I've been playing Super Smash Brothers since 64 first came out.
Okay.
I've been playing Smash my whole life. I didn't just start with Brawl. Unlike a lot of other, like, whenever somebody goes online and says Brawl is my favorite, they get flooded by jerks online and say, oh, well, you play this game as a kid. You didn't know what it was really like. I was maining Kirby when I was 5. So, you know, I've beaten every single Smash Brothers game entirely. I have a massive amount of nostalgia from Melee. A lot of my best childhood moments are from playing Melee with friends and playing on Pokefloats or going through the adventure routes as Link. But the reason why Brawl stands out to me as my favorite Smash game is because of the aesthetic. I like the darker, grungier aesthetic that a lot of the costumes that the characters have, and I like how the overall aesthetic of the game is a little bit darker, from looking at stages like the Final Destination in that game to the themes and tones of Subspace Emissary, which was the plot-based story mode that we had been waiting years for from Super Smash Bros.
Yeah.
A lot of the unlockables in that game are really cool. I love the trophies. I love the music. The music in that game is fantastic. I believe that the composer, the Final Fantasy series up until that point, had composed the lead song.
Yeah, Uematsu did the main, the main song.
He composed the theme.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy crap, I did not know that.
That was one of his first projects after he left Square and formed his own company. Don't quote me on that, but I'm not. But I think that's true. You had
you had tons of other very well renowned musicians and composers that cameoed on that game. What's the one composer? Her name's like Yoko Kanno. Yeah, Yoko Kanno.
Yoko Kanno.
She was on it too. I think Keiichi Okabe was on it.
Yeah, and Yuzo Koshiro was also on it.
Yuzo Koshiro,
Streets of Rage guy.
Which makes me think maybe it was Yuzo Koshiro that did the Etrian Odyssey soundtrack. Now to think about it, but I'm pretty sure it was still...
He did some of the Etrian Odyssey music for sure. Yuzo Koshiro did.
Okay, I think it was still Okabe that did 4. But anyways, yeah, those were all things I loved about it. This was the first game where we had third-party characters like Sonic that appeared.
Sonic.
But I acknowledge all the downsides about this game. Gameplay-wise, it is incredibly sluggish. It can be frustrating, but it was the most fun Smash Brothers game, in my opinion, because you had things like Subspace Emissary with these gorgeous cutscenes.
I miss that so much.
The action cutscenes in Subspace Emissary felt like beautifully choreographed anime scenes with the pacing and the perspectives, the way that Kirby flies through that giant like laser gun that comes out of the subspace like world. He just shoots through it on one of his like stars, like it, and yeah, it's just cool. It is just exuberantly cool, and that's what I love about Emissary.
I remember like the Pikachu Samus storyline.
Yes,
was just one of my favorites. It was just charming because it's like you get to see a very vulnerable side of Samus you don't usually get to, and it was great.
The Subspace Emissary cutscenes were also very satisfying in terms of fan service for a lot of people. Like, you got to see Captain Falcon doing cool stuff, interacting with other characters. You got to see Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, hanging out together. Fox and Falco, and they're flying around their R-Wings. Just tons of satisfaction left and right.
I feel like for most like crossover games, the big draw is seeing the characters interact with each other, right? We feel like the Dissidia games and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
that's what I love the most.
Big draw, right? Like you want to see these characters in a canon or pseudo canon setting, like interact and bounce off of each other. And it's really too bad that Smash just stopped doing that after Brawl.
Yeah, we got sort of some of it in World of Light, but not much.
A little tiny.
Oh, little. It was a taste.
I mean, the trailer for character reveals is where all the characters come through.
Yep.
Yeah, it was like those trailers, but it was part of the game, and that was what was so great about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Like, I can see that.
Smash Bros. Brawl is a lot of fun. It also has a nice variety of game modes, including the boss rush mode, where you just fought all the bosses from Subspace Emissary in a row, and that was so incredulously hard that I had to have our friend Drew help me beat it, because just some of the fights there just were like absolute insanity. Let's see. Oh yeah, it was also the first Smash game to introduce the stage creator. I spent dozens of hours creating my own custom stages in Brawl, and I actually used the stage creator to make replicas of all the Melee stages that they didn't include. So So it was a really fun time for me. That's a Smash Bros. Game I enjoyed the most. And that's why I felt that it deserved to be on this list more than Melee, more than 64, more than Ultimate. So
I find that answer acceptable.
What about Steve, though?
Steve can go, be Steve. I don't care about Steve that much. I like to troll as Steve, but I ain't married to him, man. I'll just put that out there. I'm going to skip over the center one, save that for last. Okay. The next one is Kirby's Dream Land, the original game for the Game Boy. That was the first. That was the first game I ever played, and the first game I ever beat. And after that, like, my parents pretty much knew that I was a Kirby fan and would buy me tons of Kirby-related merchandise.
Kirby's legit.
Yeah, Kirby is incredible, and it's interesting because Masahiro Sakurai, the director of the Smash games, this was his first directorial debut. Like, this was the first game he made on his own, and he has said in interviews that he designed Kirby's Dream Land to be a platformer that was easy to play so it could appeal to as many people as possible and be fun to as many people as possible, regardless of your level of gaming expertise. Even people who were familiar with video games back then could still enjoy Kirby for its cuteness and for some of the mechanics and for the character sprites. Poyo. It's a great game, and I go back to it probably once a year and just play through it beginning to end in like a couple hours at best, because it's just a fun time. So that's why it deserves to be on this list. The next one is F-Zero Maximum Velocity, specifically the F-Zero game that came out for Game Boy Advance after GX. This is a point of contention that I wanted to bring up.
It came out after GX.
It did. I'm pretty sure it did anyways. You
I
could
think you're
fact
right
check
now that
me
you
on
said
that.
it.
But the reason why I included F-Zero Maximum Velocity and not F-Zero GX, not the original F-Zero, is because Maximum Velocity is what got me into F-Zero.
Okay.
I played it first.
Fair enough.
Then my brother and I got GX, and I played a ton of that, but I was never very good at GX. There were things about the gameplay mechanics in that game I never quite understood, like, for example, spinning your ship. That always, like, spinning your ship like a Beyblade always kind of, like, confused me. But I loved F-Zero Maximum Velocity for the 2D sprite graphics and how gorgeous they looked and how tight the mechanics were. And it felt so precise to control your racer with this D-pad and with the shoulder buttons. And I enjoyed that tremendously, so I played F-Zero Maximum Velocity day in and day out. It had this strange replay value I couldn't find in any other game. So that's the F-Zero game that got me into the series. I picked up Maximum Velocity again a couple of years ago and played that for a few months. And then I got the SNES Mini, which had the original F-Zero on it, and that's where I finally played the original F-Zero for the first time and got so hooked on that I went out of my way to buy the SNES Switch Online controller from my Nintendo page just so I could play F-Zero on the Switch the right way. So, again, the precision from the D-pad tremendously helps compared to using a Pro controller.
That's where your moves.
Captain Falcon is also just a lovable character through and through. He deserves more love from everybody. Next up on the list is Pokemon Pearl version, specifically Pokemon Pearl. And again, I'm going to cover my bases here and say the first Pokemon game I played was Yellow, and I played Yellow.
Okay.
I played Yellow in 1999. Yeah. 1999 is when I first played Pokemon Yellow. Adored that game to death. And then, I got Pokemon Gold and Silver after that, all the Stadium games. Pearl is not my first Pokemon game. The reason why it's on here is because it's the one I played for 800 hours.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
I'm assuming breeding was involved.
Yes.
No.
There was plenty of breeding. Also, lots of tradings. My brother had a diamond version that he didn't play anymore, so I used his diamond version to get exclusives I didn't have. My goal for Pearl was to complete the national dex. That's why I dumped so much time into it. I had never completed national dex, and I'm going to go on the record and say that I'm a collector. Not just with Pokemon, but with most games. I like to collect all the weapons you can possibly collect. I like upgrading weapons to like the maximum level. I like collecting all the clothes, all the music. That's why Smash Brothers is so like addictive for me, because I love all the collectibles. So with Pokemon Pearl, I wanted to collect every single Pokemon at the time, and I think it capped at around 495 or something like that.
92.
92. Okay. So I spent all that time doing that, and it didn't take me 800 hours. It took me 500 hours to do that. The other 300 hours was me just searching around to see literally what else I could do in the game, because I had the perfect team. I had every legendary you could possibly obtain at that point in Pokemon without using a Game Shark. And I desperately wanted to catch Darkrai and Shaman, and I was trying to figure out how to break my game so I could get to their areas to capture them, and I never figured it out. You really do need an action replay. Yeah, and I just didn't want to risk bricking my game that I had already dumped 500 hours into for the sake of catching those two, but I wanted to figure it out. So I spent a lot of time doing that. But I know Hoenn very well by this point. I know it like the back of my hand. Sinnoh. Okay, yeah, so that already kind of negates what I just said. But it's been a while. Give me a break. It's been like since 2008. But I love Sinnoh.
You should have been... Yeah.
I love Sinnoh, and I actually wanted to complete the deck so thoroughly that I went back and replayed Ruby and Sapphire and completed both games 100% so I could get the 3 Reggies and bring them over so I could get Regigigas. Why both games?
That is dedication.
Why both games instead of just one? Because I accidentally killed Regice without saving first.
The Pokemon fallacy.
And I was so excited because the quest to unlock those 3, you have to do the Relicanth quest. And that requires a lot of luck, and I didn't want to spend another 20 hours trying to replicate finding another Replicant. So I just said, you know what? It's easier to just start Sapphire. So that's what I did. So I completed those 2 games for the sake of completing Pearl. I loved the online battle capabilities of Diamond and Pearl. I loved how you could connect them to Battle Revolution. I played Battle Revolution for the sake of getting Pokemon I didn't have in Pearl. That game lives on fondly in my memory for those reasons. I also love the aesthetics of 4th gen. I love the Pokemon. It's just overall a lot of fun. I also love the fact that you have to get to Arceus via that like Heaven's Bridge or whatever. I mean, illegally, they never did hand out that item in America, but point being that it's just cool aesthetically. So, the next one, I'll just keep it very short so I can get on to the last one. The next one is Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Specifically Birth by Sleep. Again, not the first Kingdom Hearts game I played, the first one I beat. Birth by Sleep is a ton of fun because you play through the game 3 times from different perspectives. And each one of the 3 main characters has their own unique abilities and moves that you learn. The development team behind Birth by Sleep was new at the time. It wasn't the same dev team as Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2. It was a new team. And this dev team would eventually go on to develop 3. But Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep was the first time that they had introduced something called the Shotlock system. And shot locks
lock.
or where you hold down the L and R triggers on your PSP and just move your PSP all around to target every single enemy in a room, and then let go of the L and R triggers, and you just fire off automatically like homing shots onto every enemy in the room. And that made it a lot easier to clear some really, really difficult boss battles. So I appreciated how welcoming that game was, but at the same time, Birth by Sleep was rewarding if you dumped a bunch of time and effort into it, because there were still really cool final bosses. There were cool keyblades you could unlock. It's too bad they didn't release Final Mix until much, much, much later. But yeah, gameplay-wise, Birth by Sleep is very addictive. And I mean, heck, you get to travel in space and meet Stitch from Lilo and Stitch before the Lilo and Stitch movie. So there's a bunch of original story there around that little alien furball. It's just too bad that the one complaint I have about Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep is the actual plot of the game is hot garbage. And I stand by that claim, because that is officially where the storyline for Kingdom Hearts started to get difficult to follow. Birth by Sleep is a prequel.
How many Soras was created at that time?
There was only one Sora at that time. There was only one before Birth by Sleep. Then, after Birth by Sleep, we started to have 2, then 3, and so on. In fact, yeah, Birth by Sleep, I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, Birth by Sleep was a prequel that added way too many things into the storyline that made you question, wait, why didn't they mention this in the second game? Why didn't they mention this beforehand? Who are these people? Why are we hearing about this now? What the heck, King Mickey? Why didn't you mention any of this in the prior 2 games? It would have been helpful to know. No, Birth by Sleep is the first time that Kingdom Hearts actually introduces some plot holes and paradoxes that just aren't explained and they don't make sense. Up until that point, Kingdom Hearts 1, Chain of Memories, and 2 actually form a very strong, consistent narrative. So that's my biggest complaint about Birth by Sleep, but at the same time, it's my favorite game for the gameplay mechanics. Okay, so moving on to the last one. I'm gonna keep this as short as I can. I'm pretty sure 2.5 hours into the podcast, I'm probably too tired to actually articulate this well, my love for this game. But my centerpiece that probably has the biggest influence on me is The World Ends With You. I think I said it earlier in the podcast, but this game defined my taste in music, my taste in clothes, my taste in just video game RPGs in general, because The World Ends With You is all about style. It's all about looking cool. Style, clothing is literally a centerpiece of the game. You have to keep upgrading your clothes in order to move forward, yes, but also the game literally takes place in Shibuya, the fashion district of Tokyo.
It's like a cultural hub of Tokyo.
It really is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this game is all about Shibuya and what a cultural hub it really is. But there's also a wonderfully intricate story beneath all of that. And I have said this to several other people. The World Ends With You is very much a Final Fantasy story.
Because, I mean, there's a crossover with Kingdom Hearts, right? So, yeah.
But that's not the reason why. The reason why is because you start off as a character who is very selfish and loathing of others for good reasons. And he has a mysterious past that you don't know about yet as the player, but you find out more about his backstory with him because he has amnesia. And you find out more about his life. You find out more about why the story behind The World Ends With You is even happening in the first place. And you watch him as he interacts with other characters he meets for the first time and how they change him and how he changes them. And the relationships grow. And there's high stakes that they don't find out about until much later in the game. Yep. It's one of the most difficult RPGs out there because of the dual screen mechanic. But
yeah,
I will, again, go on record and say that IGN, at the time the game came out, called it, quote-unquote, a modern RPG. because that's exactly what it is. It took many facets of prior Final Fantasy games and other Square Enix and Squaresoft endeavors and really put a unique spin on all of those concepts. And I loved that. The game is divided into 3 arcs, 3 weeks that you have to explore. And each week has different challenges and tribulations. And from beginning to end, if you play the game once already and play it a second time, you actually notice things about the end game that are planted early on. But you have to be eagle-eyed to notice. There's a lot of side quests, there's a lot of characters to talk to, and there is much to explore. For a 2007 or 2008 DS game, they crammed as much of a city as they possibly could into the game environment. And it's overall special, and I couldn't be more thankful for the fact that we have an anime adaptation going for it right now. If you're listening to this and you're curious about World Ends With You and you want to know more about it, I'm just going to tell you to go onto YouTube right now and search for the OST song called Transformation.
Yes.
That is the entire game summarized up in one song. That is the game spirit right there, is that song Transformation. Please look it up. It's incredible. So, that's my 3x3. Wow. That was a lot of games, boys. That was a lot of video games that we talked about.
Yeah, I think we talked
and
about.
Very little overlap. I think the only one that happened was Nier Automata on both mine and Andrew's.
I think so, yeah. I think
Yeah.
you're right.
The closest would be me and Andrew both liking a Smash Bros. Game, and also me and him liking a Pokemon game. Those are the 2 closest we've got.
No, I actually literally have Nier Automata, and so does he.
Well, yeah, there's that. So that's the absolute closest. That's the 1 for 1. But yeah, we all have very different tastes.
This is a very interesting look that video games have a very different effect on people, and different games that look like, why would you even care about this game? It's like, it resonates in a different way with people.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So, overall, to cap things off before we call it good for this podcast, I guess just number 1, what's the thing you guys are most excited to hear about? I know we kind of talked about it, right, but I wanted to kind of circle back to it. Each one of us kind of go off and say,
Persia.
Prince of Persia. Okay. Trey, what about you?
I don't know. I guess Demon Slayer, but honestly, indie games are what I'm really excited for.
Okay.
New announcements.
Yeah. Frank?
Same with Trey. I kind of want to see more indie games. So I specifically the new BioShock game or something made by Ken Levine is one. Or hopefully we get something. But who knows what?
And Professor Shinobi?
Honestly, I'm going to say I'm just hyped to see what Nintendo's got up their sleeves. They're really good about bringing out IPs that have been popular and iterating on them and bringing out completely new ones. And I just want to see them bring their A game.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I think I'm most excited to see what Nintendo has to unveil. It won't be anything that I want to see, but I hope to be surprised nonetheless. So they're really good. They're really good at surprises. I'll give them that. Okay. Well, I think we'll cap off the podcast here. So thank you again for everybody for tuning into our podcast today. I'm Andrew, and today I was joined by Ed, Frank, Trey, and Professor Shinobi. Thank you very much again. Please check out some of our other content. There'll be links in the description below. For all things anime, video games, and comic books, please follow us on Twitter at advent_7. Please visit our website, advent7.com, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for listening, and we will see you all next time.
And remember, gamers never die twice.
Rise up.
Definitely die more than twice. I have no idea what you're talking
You've
about.
never played Super Meat Boy, have you?
Like I said, they never die twice. They die more than twice.
Fair enough.